Namaste, Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram. Welcome to another book reading episode of Navavimas podcast. So today we have chosen a very interesting and intriguing topic for our book reading session. So today we are going to talk about a special book that we I have got recently, Ambedkar, Islam and the Left, by Mr. Nilesh Kumar Singh.
Mithilesh Kumar Singh.
Sorry, yeah. So actually, there's one more book for Nilesh. So Mithilesh Kumar Singh. So this is a very interesting book, which charts the journey of Indian independence movement from 1940s onwards, and how the Muslim League, the Dalit movement, headed by Mr. Jogendranath Mandal in the East Bengal, and Mr. Ambedkar being there in the Maharashtra region. So these two towering leaders of Dalit community or Dalit movement as such in 1940s, which somehow actually shaped the partition of India, the way the partition happened, and the way the politics is fought today. The politics is today in terms of Hindu politics, Dalit politics, Muslim politics. So these two characters, Mr. B.R. Ambedkar and Jogendranath Mandal, had a very influential role in this. So today we are going to read a chapter. So let me show you the chapter name itself. We have the scanned copy with us, so we will also read it on the screen. But for the audience reference, we're going to read chapter. Okay, chapter is Ambedkar and Jagannath Mandal 182. So we will read this. It's a very long chapter. So we're going to finish this in two sessions, not one session, because it has around 20 pages of reading with us. So this is chapter number 8, Ambedkar and Jagannath Mandal. So we have the scan copy with us, and we will be reading this. And we also have a presentation summary of this session as well, so that we will turn a little bit later. So all of you get ready for exciting session where we will be discussing the latest hot topic, which is now Dalit politics and Ambedkar and his contributions. I think all of you who are with us might be knowing that there has been a lot of political mudslinging happening between the ruling party and the opposition parties regarding the contribution of Ambedkar and how his legacy is being used for political mileage. But we are going to do an academic reading of the contributions made by the Dalit politicians of 1940s who shaped India's history in many ways. So today we also have with us Nina. Hi Nina, how are you? Our guest reader.
I'm doing good.
Very good, and hopefully you are having a good last month and enjoying your coming new year.
Yes, yes. It's been a good time since I was the reader.
Sure. So before we start the reading, Nina, you have anything to say regarding what is your opinion or perspective on Vijay Ambedkar and Mr. Jonath Mandal? So before we start the reading.
So, these are two very, controversial figures in our history. So you can see always politics is always polarized when we talk of them. There are many who go completely in their support, or some see nuance in their views, some go completely against them. So I think that this reading today will help us give us a more nuanced view as to where exactly these two people lay in their viewpoints, and where they differed, where they found similarities, and where we, as you can say, Hindus,
Hmm.
should look upon as them.
Got it. Very interesting that you have talked about. So what I will do is I'm going to share. And audience, do let me know if the chapter and text are visible to you.
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible, correct? So let's all set. Let's start reading. So, Nina, over to you.
Yes. So, this is chapter 8, Ambedkar
Yeah,
and
chapter 8
Jogendranath
and
Mandal.
starting. Starting, yeah.
Yeah. To keep the present peaceful and prosperous, the future secure, it is essential to learn from the events of the past. Despite many discrepancies, Dr. Ambedkar stood with the country and bonded the future of India with his community, which was a sign of fervent patriotism. Today, the entire nation is indebted to him. Dr. Ambedkar was erudite and was well aware of the attitude of the Muslim invaders and the customs and policies of their governance. He knew how non-Islamic citizens were treated in Islamic states. Darul Islam and Darul Harb have been explained in his words in the previous chapter. Therefore, I do not think it is appropriate to narrate it again. Dr. Ambedkar never lends any moral support to Pakistan. However, he was in favor of creating Pakistan, uh,
Yeah,
keeping the
go ahead, go ahead.
yes, yes. He was favor in of keeping the he was in favor of Pakistan, keeping the allegiance towards the party in mind. I appealed for peace to my. Is this the correct page?
Yeah,
We
correct. It is the
just
page number one. Page number one, 182. Correct. The correct page.
one eight
You can,
one eighty
you,
two. Just a second. Keeping the allegiance in mind, right?
yes, I think you
After
are reading
creating
absolutely
Pakistan,
right. Hmm. Correct. The page is absolutely correct.
I appealed for peace through my magazine Jagran. It was no. Wait a
Okay,
second.
I think it is page number 182 and then it's 83. So if you go to the scan I have shared you, so it's chapter
Yes.
8.
Okay, I
So you
found it
can,
now.
yeah, go ahead. Hmm.
So he was in favor of creating Pakistan for the peace and prosperity of India. He believed that Muslims could not live peacefully in India because of the concept about the heritage and prevailing religious concept. It should be noted here that in the event of creation of Pakistan, he favored complete transfer of Hindus and Muslims on communal lines so that the problem could be eradicated from the root. He elaborated it in the chapter Pakistan and Communal Peace in his book Pakistan or Partition of India. Since most of Congress leaders were of the view that India should remain a multi-religious country, hence he only expressed his idea in the form of an advice. So, in this context, when we remember, even I think Rajaji had also given from Congress had given a plan for Pakistan, but there he was doing it half-heartedly, like the way it actually happened. That only those Muslims who want to go will go, but not all. Here, Ambedkar is advocating for complete transfer. That is only Hindus in India, only Muslims in Pakistan. Yes.
Yes. So it is very interesting when we are reading the only this first chapter, okay, that we are reading this. Okay, and now let me actually do one more thing. Is the page number 183 visible to everybody?
No, it's still on the last page,
Correct. That's fine. That it should be as it is. So actually, I'll just do
182.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be there. It will be there. So I have just
Okay.
made that arrangement so that it will come up automatically. I just need to get this done. So the text should be visible. I have increased the font. So yeah. So there is a very interesting topic that actually a lot of talk is not being done. It is not discussed as should be. It is the 1947 partition plan. Okay, and again after. So there were a lot of discussions happened between Gandhi, Mr. Nehru, and Mr. Ambedkar regarding the Hindu and Muslim populations on both sides of the border, including East Pakistan, including West Pakistan, and including Muslims who remained in Bharat or India. Okay. So
Yes.
the views of Mr. Ambedkar, specifically the book that we will try to read, Mr. Ambedkar's book on the partition of India, okay, where he has professed his views quite openly. What what his stand was with regard to the population exchange program or agreement which happened, where Muslims and Hindus both from East and West Pakistan and from India were like allowed to move to each other if they wanted to go there. So on that context, it is very important to know that Ambedkar actually wanted that if a partition is taking place, there should be a total transfer of population where Hindus from West Pakistan and East Pakistan would come to India, and Muslims would go to the newly created country of Pakistan, East and West Pakistan. So a question to the audience itself, audience and Neener as well, and also to other
Yes.
guests who would be coming. Why do you think Ambedkar wanted this specific arrangement, the total population transfer of Hindus and Muslims on both sides? Like, do you have any idea? Because you are a young person, so that's what I'm asking.
So what I think of it, he might have probably been of the same opinion as to why Sardar Patel had supported partition. That say an equal number of Hindus and Muslims in a country will not work out. And any Muslims at all might be a problem at all. He might have taken that conclusion to complete extent that way.
Correct. So, like we had Gandhi who was professing the so-called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, okay, and where it it called for a kind of coexistence, okay, as such. But on the other hand, we had politicians like Mr. Ambedkar, uh, Sardar Patel, Vallabhbhai Patel, and they were there. So they were of the opposite views. So we will read on page number 183, and then we will discuss and pause if you find something interesting. Go ahead.
Yes. Around 1940, there were two great Dalit leaders in the country, Jogendranath Mandal and Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Though Bhimrao Ambedkar was older than Jogendranath Mandal in age, but as far as his political stature was concerned, Mandal was more popular among the masses. But Mandal loved and respected Dr. Ambedkar because of his intellect. Jogendranath Mandal was born in 1904 in Barishal district of the then Bengal Presidency, which is currently located in Bangladesh. He started his political career as an independent candidate in the Bakraganj constituency in Bengal during the elections to the Indian Provincial Assembly in 1937. He emerged victorious in this election. He was greatly influenced by Subhash Chandra Bose and Sarat Chandra Bose. Since he was in Congress, he felt that I'll just find the page.
You can read from the scan itself. I think you also have the scan. So
Yeah, yeah, but I need to because the pages are not ordered, so it is front and
no, no,
back email.
it is ordered. It is ordered. Oh yeah, you can actually. It is ordered. 183, 184 is there.
Uh, since he was from the Congress, he could develop himself and his people under their umbrella. But Subhash Chandra Bose was expelled from the Congress in 1940 when his ideal was
Niner,
thrown out. Yes,
Niner, you are reading the 183, correct?
184. I'm done with 183.
No, actually, we should be reading 180. It is done already. How it is done?
Yes, I read
Okay,
this
okay,
part
okay,
just
okay,
now.
okay, 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 okay. You just
Yeah,
need to do it a bit slow because the
sorry.
audience also needs to do it. So you need to tell me the change the flip. I'll flip the page. Go ahead.
Right, right. I'll tell you.
Yeah, little bit slower.
Yeah, I'll start from the beginning again.
Yeah,
Since he
go ahead.
was in the Congress, he could develop himself and his people under their umbrella. But Subhash Chandra Bose was expelled from the Congress in 1940. When his ideal was thrown out of the party, he too was disillusioned with the Congress and soon realized that he and his people had no future there. He then had a hold among the backward and scheduled castes. It was during those days he founded the Bengal branch of the Scheduled Castes Association along with Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. The scheduled union then had a narrow base, and Mandal needed a bigger political base to fulfill his political ambitions. Thus, he became inclined towards the Muslim League, the second national party of that period, and he became a victim of political disorientation. Muhammad Ali Jinnah offered several political inducements to Mandal. He realized that if Jogendranath Mandal could ally with the Muslim League, then the League would have a substantial base among the backward and scheduled castes as well. Mr. Mandal was then completely under Jinnah's influence, and he felt that the backward and scheduled castes can have a better future with Pakistan. He openly favored the Muslim League and started advocating creation of Pakistan. Yeah, we can discuss if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, very interesting. So, correct. The author actually mentions that. So, the first question that comes to mind is why Mr. Mandal, Jogendranath Mandal, wanted to align with the Muslim League on the first place? Like, it's a pretty curious question. So, we don't know a lot about the history of that time, not read enough. But what do you think prompted this happen? Like the political scenario at that time.
So, the reason given here in the book is that he got disillusioned with Congress exactly at the time when Subhash Chandra Bose left. So, that can be quite a reason. Probably because he didn't see many other leaders from Bengal at that time in the Congress. And even among, though he probably had more affiliation with Dr. Ambedkar already. So he was already kind of away from the inside of the Congress, but he was leaning on their support. But it became easy once easy for him to like get away from Congress when his ideal, that is Subhash Chandra Bose, was expelled.
Got it. Got it. So let me. I think the audience actually wants the zoom to happen. So I will just zoom it little bit.
Bottom right, can you see?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just hold on. I am just
Yeah.
trying to get this zoomed, but unfortunately this application is stuck. So let me
Okay.
just. Microsoft is very, very okay. So now I have the proper thing.
For the audience, we are
Hmm.
actually reading out everything, so you can listen to us also at the same time.
Yeah, audience, is it visible to everybody? Just the text, I have zoomed it.
Yeah. You're on 185, right?
Yes, 185. So we
Yeah.
just
I
need to be a
just
little
need to
bit mindful.
read last, yeah,
Yeah,
last para of
la-
184, then I'll come to 185.
yeah. Actually, you can do that. I also have the 185 prepped here.
Yeah,
Let
okay.
me just let me just open this.
Should I continue?
Yeah, let me just put the right screen that audience can actually read through it. Because the text thing is there, so we have to be a little bit more careful. Okay, so the last para, so it should be
Yes.
visible to everybody. Go ahead.
Due to his moral support extended to Pakistan, there was confusion among the backward and scheduled castes dominated areas of East Bengal. It was here that his and Dr. Ambedkar's paths parted. Dr. Ambedkar did not have any misconception about the future of the backward and
Uh,
um,
hold on. I'm just putting
yeah,
that document. But it's a very interesting. So I think this is something we need to discuss thoroughly.
yes, yes.
Very
I have the
important
document with
point.
me. I'll read it. A
Yeah.
backward and scheduled castes in Jinnah's Pakistan. He felt that the future of the backward and scheduled caste was secure in India. Though he was annoyed with the Congress, yet he did not leave the national mainstream. This was Dr. Ambedkar's view. However, Mandal was inclined towards Ambedkar. Sometimes, due to political pressure and circumstances, people get trapped in Chakravyuha And the same happened with Jogendranath Mandal also. Many in Congress intended to harm Dr. Ambedkar's political career. That is why Ambedkar did not find any place in the list of 296 members sent by the Congress to the Constituent Assembly. Out of the 296 members, 31 were Dalits. Ambedkar became very disappointed with this move, but he was keen to join the Constituent Assembly. It was Jogendranath Mandal who got him elected from Bengal and sent him to the Constituent Assembly. In the election, Mandal became Dr. Ambedkar's proponent, while Congress MLC Gayanath Biswas became his supporter. The Muslim League also lent its moral support to Dr. Ambedkar. Meanwhile, the Congress played a political gimmick and gave away districts to Pakistan from which Ambedkar was elected to the Constituent Assembly. It was in this context that Abhishek Singh Rao says, under the plan of partition, it was agreed that areas where Hindus constitute more than 51% of the population would remain part of India, and where Muslims are more than 51% will be given to Pakistan. I just changed the page.
Yeah, go ahead.
One second. But Congress, keeping its superiority over the country, gave away the districts to Pakistan, which had 71% Hindu population, and from where Ambedkar won the election. Those interested in history believe that Jawaharlal Nehru gave away these four districts to Pakistan as a collective punishment for voting in favor of Ambedkar. Now, technically, Ambedkar became a member of the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan, and his membership of the Constituent Assembly of India was annulled. With the formation of Pakistan, Bengal was now divided, and fresh elections were to be held in West Bengal for the Constituent Assembly. When it became evident that Ambedkar could no longer remain in the Constituent Assembly, he publicly refused to accept the constitution and said that he would make it a political issue. It was only then that the Congress High Command decided to give him a place. Yeah, so we can discuss this if
This
the
is very important, correct. So now we see that both the political parties on the both the political aisles are busy trying to be loyal to constitution and trying to praise Dr. Ambedkar for his efforts in getting the constitution defined and drafted. And we see
yes,
here that Mr. Ambedkar himself is saying that I would not obey the constitution. Is it something
right.
which is quite revealing to a lot of us that the way the politics is being done and the way things discussions are having?
Yes,
So,
definitely.
see, we all are very young, okay, and we don't have a lot of reading. I am reading a bit in terms of partition and the politics which is happening there. So, from your opinion, a question to everybody, also the audience in the can also answer in the chat. This, uh, what do you say, kind of demigod status of Ambedkar, which is being created, creating a narrative out of this by all parties, the Ambedkar Vadi parties, people who are not in favor of Ambedkar in historically, they are also doing it. So, what do you think the reason or the purpose behind this demigod status being given to Mr. Ambedkar? See, every individual have its flaws and its excellent things. Like no individual is perfect in any ways. And even Ambedkar has mentioned that okay, we should not consider anyone as God. So why it is happening?
Yes.
Like, what do you think the reason behind this? Question to you, to audience, why it's happening?
So From what I understand is that the scheduled caste vote bank, so it has become quite divided in recent times. So each of the parties is trying to reach out to them in a different manner, and I think they have all somehow come up with the same plan that they will glorify Ambedkar, as if that means the only good thing about their community.
Yeah. So, okay, I have given the link to the on the chat. So people who want to share their opinions, you can join the link and you can discuss with us. We are happy to host you. So one thing is
Yes,
important that we observe. See, we talk about vote bank politics as something which is a very new thing in terms of political discourse. Okay. But as we see that in 1930s and 40s, when the India was working towards getting its freedom,
yes,
independence, we see Ambedkar saying that, okay, I will not obey the constitution and I have my own vote bank. I will use that vote bank to my advantage as a politician. So he was
yes.
doing
Even
what
in
he was.
1937, we saw that Jogen Mandal specifically was contesting from scheduled caste seats and winning because of his caste.
This is a very interesting comment from RS. Cause Dr. Ambedkar can't be put into a particular political ideology. So, RS, to question to you, do you think Ambedkar was just a politician like any other politician, or he was different in any other way, like Mr. Nehru, Mr. Gandhi, Mr. Patel, and many other, Mr. Mandal itself? And we have one more interesting comment from Saptorshi. Very interesting. Ambedkar is made a demigod because by using him, one can harm a community as well, and any criticism of him will be downfall for that guy's credentials. That's interesting. So, okay. So, what we will do is we will continue reading. Let me just
Yeah,
get the page. So, you are on the which para you are?
page 186, and some historians believe that one.
Yeah, here it is. Go ahead.
1 second. Some historians believe that it was due to Mahatma Gandhi's pressure that the Congress agreed to include Dr. Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly. Nehru was thinking of getting a German expert to draft the constitution, but it was at the behest of Gandhiji that Nehruji selected Ambedkarji to do this work. Despite ideological differences, Mahatma Gandhi had a liking and respect for Dr. Ambedkar. And despite antipathy, Ambedkar also respected Gandhiji, which also reflected on many occasions.
Nina, just hold back.
Yes,
So this is very important when you talk about politics. Okay. So let's say we also see correct the events where people from Congress, the example would be HBS Hemanta Biswa Sarma. Okay, he was a Congressy for whole his life. Then he left Congress and joined BJP. Okay. So this change in political ideology, in change in political perspective. Okay. And when we read, despite ideological differences, Mahatma Gandhi had a liking and respect for Dr. Ambedkar, and despite antipathy, Ambedkar also respected Gandhiji, which also reflected on many occasions. What these what this paragraph actually represents in terms of how political parties functions, how politicians function, how politicians interact with each other internally within the same party and outside the same party. What do you think?
so there can be many views.
Yeah,
Can
go
you
share
repeat
your.
your question?
See, my question is, when we read this specific paragraph, that Mr.
Yes.
Gandhi did not agree on everything what Ambedkar said, and Mr. Ambedkar did not agree with what Mr. Gandhi said 100%. Both have their differences in terms of their perspective. but at the same
Right,
time
right.
they also respected each other and tried to work on issues which they did not find any difference or which they could agree upon. So, as a
Yep.
politician, Mr. Gandhi was a politician, Mr. Ambedkar was a politician. So, despite having political differences with each other, they found a way to work with each other on the issues which they agreed upon. So my question to you and to audience is that when we visualize a politician, let's say somebody from BJP, he would be a kind of representing the majority or the Hindus in general. I'm not saying they do represent,
Yeah.
but in general, BJP is a Hindu party. Congress is, I don't know where they are right now. I don't know exactly. So take an example as BJP. As a BJP representing Hindu party. So when a politician from BJP comes and talks, what comes into your mind? What is his thought process? What is his representation in terms of his political ideology? And when they change sides, like HBS, Hemanta Biswa Sarma was a Congressy for his whole political career. Then he switched to BJP, and now he is a BJP chief minister in Assam. So how you switch
Right.
the political jump in ideology and joining a new party, both of them, how do you perceive that? This.
So there is a concept that I have heard of a couple of times that certain parties become the umbrella party, where they try to accommodate all types of views within the same party and try to become, the national party. At one point of time, even Congress was known for its Hindu credentials during the British times, especially because we had leaders like Subhash Chandra Bose and many others as well. But later on, they of course changed their ideology, and that space I think now has been taken over by BJP. Now they are trying to get as many people under the fold and trying to be as varied and trying to be national in that sense.
Yes, very interesting. So I think there is a quote from Mr. Gandhi as well that Mr. Gandhi wanted the Congress to be disbanded once the independence was achieved because the
Yes,
primary objective of Congress party was to actually gain independence. Correct.
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, so in that sense, uh, Congress party was not kind of a, as you mentioned, correct, you mentioned umbrella party concept that you have. So
Right.
during the independence movement, because everybody wanted freedom from the British, and Congress party was kind of forefront of representing that phase. So in that way, Congress party was not actually a political party in a sense what we see now today. Do you think is that correct?
It can be argued because, but whatever said, it was trying to be a national party in that sense. What I was pointing out earlier, it was trying to accommodate all the views. Even at some point, it tried to accommodate Muslims, like Jinnah and during the Khilafat movement and all that. But of course, that project failed. But yeah, that is what it was trying to do.
Yes, I understand your perspective, but what I was trying to stress upon is that
Mhm.
because it was an independent struggle movement when which we had Congress party become a kind of political ideology, kind of political movement. Okay,
Yes,
so the kind of politics we see today from 1947 or 51 onwards, when we adopted our constitution, like equating the Congress party of 1930s or 40s or 1900s to equating the Congress party in 1951 when India adopted the constitution in 50, and then it became a republic and the Congress party fought elections as a political party in 50s onwards. So they, in my opinion, they cannot be equated. They would be origin apples in my way,
definitely.
in my
Yeah,
perspective.
they're completely different entities now. Now, even you see the aspect of that, it has become a family-run party, and it's not that kind of an umbrella party where you had multiple figures. even it's in contrast to each other. At one point, we had moderates and extremists, but they were still trying to be the same party, right?
Yes. So while we are reading the book, so I will request the audience like the book we are reading. So this book is available on Karuta Books with a very good discount available. This discount is very good, considering that in other platforms the cost is a little bit more. So this is a very interesting book. It documents a very specific chapter on Indian partition of India subcontinent specifically, and the role played by Ambedkar, Mr. Jinnah, and Mr. Jogendranath Mandal in that way, and also an overarching Dalit politics, the relationship between Dalit politics, Islam, and the left wing. So, so these three are very important components of politics which happened in 1900 onwards, and how they intermingled and created a situation where partition happened, and we all know what happened in the partition in terms of violence and other things. So I will request all people to go and read this book, buy the book. The book is available from Garuda Books. The link I am pasting this on the chat itself, so people can go ahead and buy the book, and also do share their your reviews as well. Uh,
Yes. I
Yeah.
would like to
So
remind people that they can join the live stream if they want to share their thoughts on the discussion so far.
yeah, people are if they want. Okay. So we have one comment from RS. Congress in British time perceived as Brahmin Baniya Party. Same tag left to use for BJP in present times. Hmm. But RS, do you think BJP has now overgrown this tag while being in power since 2014, considering that the kind of welfare schemes that they are running for almost 10, 12 years? Do you think like they are trying to get rid of this Brahman Baniya party, where you see the middle class is very unhappy with BJP itself currently?
I think so. Yeah, they have their base is now much wider than just that because they are winning so many states, so many elections. It can't be just on a base of two castes, right?
Yes, of course. So
Even their leaders are now from almost all castes.
yeah, we have I think we have a OBC president. Mr. Modi is an OBC officially, so we
Prime
have OBC
Minister, yeah,
president.
and Janjati or tribal president.
Yeah, so we have a tribal president here as well. So BJP has, and RS said yes. So BJP has overgrown and gone beyond this tag of being a Brahman Baniya party, and now Brahman Baniyas are the most unhappy with them. So let's go and read one more chapter. It's very interesting chapter we are reading. It's quite interesting in terms of historical
Yeah,
facts.
let's continue.
Yeah, well, let me just give you the page number 186, correct? Or 87?
187.
Okay, hold on. It will come
We
at
are
page
done with
87.
86.
Here is your 87. Go ahead.
In the midst of this turmoil, Mandal was completely trapped in Jinnah's allurement. Jinnah was now up to communal politics. The policy of Congress was also not good. While Jinnah was trying to understand the connotation of politics anew, he came in touch with Jogendranath Mandal. A new era of politics began in the name of Dalit Muslim unity. Jinnah started capitalizing on it. Political equations also changed rapidly. Jogendranath Mandal also openly started extending moral support to Pakistan Nirman and campaigned to bring Dalits in support. Since the aim of the Muslim League was to divide India and create as large a Pakistan as possible. For this task, Mandal was deployed everywhere, and everywhere he proved his worth like a skilled general. With a view to keeping the map of Pakistan big, it was necessary to keep the Dalits together. Jinnah, therefore, gave a lot of respect to Mandal in public. In some areas of Bengal, where the population of Hindus and Muslims was equal, elections were held to choose Pakistan or Hindustan. In order to include these areas in Pakistan, it was necessary that all the Muslims, scheduled and backward castes should vote in support of Pakistan. Jogendranath Mandal went among the masses to assure that the interests of the Dalits and backwards would be taken care of in Pakistan. As a result, in many areas, more votes were cast in favor of Pakistan, and a large part of India went to Pakistan, including the district of Sylhet.
Okay,
Yeah, that
hold on.
was. Should I continue?
Yeah, 88. Go ahead.
When the riots broke out in 1946, Jogendranath Mandal visited all the areas of East Bengal and urged the Dalits not to get involved in the riots against the Muslims because Congress was using them for its dispute with the Muslim League. However, some believe that Mandal did it due to his commitment as a member of the Muslim League. Then the country was partitioned and Jogendranath Mandal moved to Pakistan. The area where they were was now East Pakistan, along with a large Dalit population. He became the first law minister and labor minister of Pakistan. A few days after the creation of Pakistan, a series of horrific, inhuman acts against non Muslims started. Incidents of rape, plunder, murder, arson of Hindus became a routine affair. The Muslims did not differentiate between forward, backward, and Dalit Hindus in performing these acts. There, the condition of the entire Hindus became second class citizens. The Hindus left all their movable and immovable property and started fleeing to India. Mandal was shocked. Whatever was happening to him and his people in Pakistan was highly objectionable. He felt cheated. He complained to Quaid-e-Azam Jinnah, who wrote many letters but did not get any favorable reply. Even if he personally lodged complaints to the police stations against these atrocities and violent incidents happening to his people, there was no favorable response from the police. Hindus were removed from key. Um,
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to do the next one. This
yeah,
is very interesting chapter. So we'll
right, right.
continue reading this.
Key government posts. Forcible occupation of Hindu property became common. Mandal soon realized his mistake that Pakistan, which he had thought to be the land of justice, his home, was worse than hell. Yes, so we can discuss a little on how much we read so far.
Yes. So let me go to the chat. I think chat has some. Yeah. So I think. Oh, yeah. That is important. Hmm. Fine. So we read that, correct? Mr. Mandal was actually not asking the Dalit Hindus to actually retaliate and respond to the violence unleashed by the Muslims in 1946, the riots which took place. So, Nina, have you read any paper or any other book which actually details this? I think we have one more book on this, correct?
Many books cover this. I've read this story even from R.C. Mujumdar series on Indian
Mm-hmm.
history,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see how kind of blind he is that when they're actually committing violence against Hindus, when even against his own community, he expects the Muslims to actually differentiate, which they will not. He doesn't realize that they are basically wanting an Islamic state, and that he won't have an actual place in an Islamic state. So it's quite interesting that way.
Yeah. So, from your point of view, correct, the inference we can draw is that Mr. Ambedkar was much more wise, much more
Yes.
aware of political consequences, the social consequences, and also the overall uh, safety of the Dalit community, which were primarily Hindus in general. Okay, so he was much more like visionary in sense that he mentioned that if partition is happening, there should be 100% transfer of population, because he knew what would entail when Pakistan is created as an entity, as a Muslim majority entity within the Indian
Yes,
subcontinent. So in that way, Mr. Jogendranath Mandal was a politically naive person. He was not a politically astute the way Mr. Ambedkar was. So we see two poles of Dalit leadership which emerged in 1940s during the independence struggle, and the mistakes done by Mr. Mandal has cost us so much, and that consequence we see today. What is happening in today in uh, East Pakistan or Bangladesh, whichever you want to say. So we see
right.
that okay, so the leadership is very important, and the decisions taken by the leadership have a long-term impact on the overall population which they represent. So this is kind of a lesson that we all. So this is very important that when we today, as young individuals, working professionals, go and cast our vote for a specific party or a politician, we need to be mindful that our vote is going to somewhere somehow impact our future generations. The Dalits who actually supported Mr. Mandal in and trusted him to actually safeguard the Dalit interests in India, and and they chose the wrong leader in that way. And their ancestors voted for him, supported him, and now the current generation or the 1947, 1971, 2001 has happened in Bangladesh, and that is the consequence of it. So we should be we should think hard, think long, and use our voting rights, our franchise wisely to make sure that this does not repeat again.
Yeah. So I think there are a couple of other lessons also. So one
Hmm.
would be that Congress should have been, rather than accommodating to say Jinnah, they should have been more accommodating of Mandal. Why did they have to actually uh, make so much fuss about Jinnah when actually Mandal could decide how much area went to India, how many, and he decided on the fate of the lives of many people as well, as we see what happened today. Another thing is that see, making a singular person your community's leader and blindly following him like that, which Ambedkar has warned against, that kind of thing, you can see the results of it, uh, that Jogendranath Mandal brought upon his own community.
Correct, but that is the way human mind actually functions. The human psychology functions. So if you see correct in South Indian politics, so we have cinema actors, actresses becoming politicians because, and they use their uh, popularity to actually come into politics and even win elections and hold political posts. So do you think that is a kind of a like natural way, the way human psychology functions and the way it's being utilized by people?
Maybe it's possible. I
And do you
can't
think,
say with,
and do
yeah.
you think something can be done about it as a young person who would be voting for many many elections? The how a young person,
So
you represent the young population of India. Okay, so how do you think a young person should go and vote in a way to actually guard against this what you say demigod status politicians we have all over country?
right, right. Actually, I don't know if there's much from the voter side you can do, but from the political side, it's a mature decision the politicians themselves should make.
Yes, but your vote actually will elect the politician. So why do
Right?
you think your vote is insignificant?
Mm, so
And that
what would
that
your
question
point
also to
be
the
on this?
audience. Yeah, that question also to the audience itself. Like audience, we have a very young audience. Okay, so do you think your vote counts? Your vote has a significance, has an importance in the overall political scenario, political environment, and the people you elect to the parliament or the state assemblies? Or do you think that your vote is insignificant?
So I
Uh,
don't think the vote is insignificant, but what
mm,
I meant is on the this kind of going behind one leader completely,
mm,
that
mm.
monopoly type thing that should be avoided.
Got it. Okay, so from my perspective, I think what we see today, every vote counts, every vote matters. So yes, very good. So RS has answered the question that every vote actually counts. There's one more interesting comment from Shaptoshi. I think the Silhet thing isn't true. There was a serious miscalculation of votes there in Silhet, and also Gopinath Bordoloi opposed including Silhet in Assam as well. So he's talking about the northeastern part of India.
Yes.
Okay,
I
so that's
also
the.
had one more point on this. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things, I think it was the Radcliffe Commission, the which decided on the borders of East Pakistan and India. That
Yes.
time, I think they had given us Muslim majority areas, and they had also given them Hindu majority areas because of geographical concerns. Like I think Malda and Murshidabad were Muslim majority, but they came to India. Whereas I think Barishal was Hindu majority from where Jogendranath Mandal was elected. I think that was Hindu majority that went to them.
Okay, so I have a question on your comment. Do you
Yes.
think, see, if you see overall the colonial powers in
Yeah.
Africa, in Asia, and also in Middle East, okay, so you see that the way the borders are drawn like a straight line.
No, that this one actually, I think it would make sense because in case of Malda and Murshidabad, they wanted to give us both banks of the Hooghly River. So I think that was the reasoning that the river should not be divided between India and Pakistan, and then we fight over it. So they gave the full river to us. That is one
Yes,
positive, I
yes,
think.
but you are discounting one very important fact
Yes.
that a population, a homogeneous population, correct, those who speak Bengali as a general language and they share a cultural trait with
Yes.
each other, they live on both banks of the river. So how
That is
can,
fair. Yes.
correct? So there. So that's what I am saying. The colonial powers actually, in my opinion, drawn those borders in such a way that they will be in conflict with each other in coming years, so that they will not become economic, political, stable entities, and British will come and try to influence, to keep their influence as a former colonial power there. And we see now, correct? We see in Pakistan politics, correct? The Americans and the British have a disproportionate influence on politics of Pakistan. Every
Yeah.
prime minister, every general, any influential person in Pakistan has a house and a property in London, and their
Yes.
favorite retirement home is London. Is that a coincidence, or is that by design?
So, so we have seen in history how like the US and UK have traditionally aligned with Pakistan to curb India's rise in many different ways. We recall that in 1971 they even sent an aircraft carrier into Bay of Bengal to stop us from liberating Bangladesh.
Hmm.
And
Correct.
I think that could be one reason for the creation of Pakistan, that India is a little bit what we can say limited entity, not as large as it really is.
Correct. And I would like to also put forth one more thing, which is a kind of a hindsight argument we see from a lot of people now, that in 1947, the overall
Hmm.
Muslim population and Indian population was like quarter was Muslim population, and uh, one
I
third
think
was a
30,
Hindu.
30, 70 or something.
Yeah, so like like if you put quarter, it's like one third and one fourth. Okay, so it's like a three times the population of Muslims when India
Yeah,
became independent. Okay, now we see that now it has become almost 40-50% if you consider Bangladesh and Pakistan and Muslims
yeah,
living
40
in
to
India.
60, I think now.
Yeah, yeah. So now people say in the hindsight that okay, it was a good decision to actually partition the whole the subcontinent, the erstwhile undivided India, and that was a good thing. So we are saying this in hindsight, but
Yes.
but can we also say that because uh, Hindus were a prime a large majority, a very large majority electorally, this imbalance that we see today, that increase, would not have been the case anyhow, or what do you think?
So, in favor of those who would say that in hindsight it was a good move, those that would fall into the views of Dr. Ambedkar and Sardar Patel, that
Hmm.
we are containing the majority Muslims into one area. So now
Hmm.
we are safely majority Hindu for a long, long time. And opposite way, we have lost influence in those areas, say like West Punjab or East Pakistan now. Hindu influence is almost gone now. Yeah, in exchange for partition. I mean, it is possible that we could have expanded and there would be more, but there is also the risk that there would be more conflict if we were actually one entity.
Hmm.
Some kind of
Yeah,
civil
because
war or something might be possible.
correct, correct. But it is not a monolith argument which a lot of people actually
Yes.
give, because Mr. Sanjay Dixit in his one of his podcasts had mentioned that when partition was taking place in Kerala, there was a district where you had the Maharaja and also you had the population which was primarily Muslim. And actually, at the time of partition, there was a kind of a reconciliation happening where actually the Muslim population wanted to convert to become Hindus and assimilate into the Hindu culture itself, but
You're talking
they
about
did not.
Kerala.
Yeah, Kerala. Now, there is
Okay, okay.
a podcast. There is a podcast which was there where Mr. And actually it's documented.
Okay, okay.
Okay, someday I'll find that document. I'll read it for everybody. So
Yes,
there,
yes, definitely.
so this hindsight argument that okay, what has happened now, it was destined to happen. It is not a argument which is monolith. So there were a lot of pockets, a lot of other things, like Mr. Didi has mentioned, HV Didi, that Lahore and Karachi had a significant Hindu population at the time of partition. Lahore was 51% Hindu, and the most
Right.
influential people in Lahore were Hindus primarily. Okay, and also in Karachi, the same thing. So this argument that okay, it was going to be a downhill for Hindus, that is, in my opinion, that is a kind of a argument which is not 100% true. It could have been reversed. We had a lot of churning going on at the time of partition, where actually the Muslim population wanted to become Hindu and become embrace it. Okay, but due to political a lot of politics happened at that time and did not happen. So it is not something which is destiny. Okay, so we should not be actually defensive about it. I think
Yes.
we need to also think in a positive way that how this can be addressed. So we should not take things as it is and try to find ways to actually work on this. So as
One aspect I want to bring out is that after independence, the more we see that for temporarily sometime there is no Hindu-Muslim conflict during Nehru's time, and what we can say is that they also curbed a lot of pro-Hindu factions, right? Like Hindu Mahasabha died down, Even Sangh was basically nothing. They had banned RSS for a while, all that. But possibly, if we were still one entity with the Muslim League and all that, then probably the Hindu factions would overpower Congress at some point.
Yes. So as RS has mentioned, Murshidabad became a Muslim majority in 2002, 2001 census data, and Malda became majority in 2011 census data. So what we see is the kind of politics which was devised, designed by Mr. Nehru and Congress in uh, 51 onwards, when elections took place, when the
Yes,
laws were enacted to actually incentivize a specific community to become who they are, including Dalits, including Muslims, okay, and the minorities in general. So what I am saying is that it became like this because there was an incentive for people to do that, to become and remain a minority. There were enough incentives given by the Congress government and Mr. Nehru in particular to actually create a vote bank which would actually blindly vote the Congress because the Congress was giving them the incentive to remain a minority and also increase in numbers. If example, if we had a different kind of Congress which was ruling from 51 onwards, this might have not be the case. And I give the example that when partition was taking place in Kerala, there were communities which were actually saying, okay, we want to now become Hindus and become part of this Hindu nation because
yes,
India is still a Hindu majority nation itself. So it is not the only one-way street which we see. There were incidences, and with laws which were not favoring them, we could have made different things altogether. So it is not something which is very simple argument from the historical hindsight perspective. And to Didi's comment that there would be a kind of a strife between the communities, it is due to incentives. Okay, Didi has said something to it. Hmm. This is interesting comment. Okay, don't forget Naxalite movement में सब किसको साथ देता. Okay, over positive होने की जरूरत नहीं. Okay, so Didi is now a red pill. Anyway, yeah, and
yes.
okay, this is interesting. Nina, have you understood this? That AIMs don't have
He's
voting
talking
rights.
about voting rights, right?
Yeah, I think in 1935 when the in India Government Act took place and the first elections took place, like only certain percentage of people who were educated were able to vote. To vote.
Only zamindars and educated people.
Yeah, the elites were actually voting for it. So I think he
Yeah,
has a point in this. Okay, but overall, even if they are not voting, the elites of both the Dalits, Hindus, and Muslims, they were actually the opinion makers. So, like if the Mr. Jinnah said go and do whatever you want in 1941,
so
it does
they even
it
percentage means
46.
they can
It is
still do violence, no?
yeah. So that's what I was saying that if, although they did not vote, had the voting rights, the 1946 violence which took place, it was the like common people of Muslim community who did the violence. The state power
Exactly.
is with the numbers. Okay, this is interesting. Also, let's not forget that Sanjay ji has also said that Muslims had lied about the numbers and they still do that. Till, okay, so there is
Yes,
a
yes. In
discrepancy.
the 1946 census, there was a lot of forgery done, where they deliberately showed higher numbers than they actually had.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that correct in the hindsight, if you go and see what we have see now right now in Pakistan and Bangladesh, it
Yes,
may not have been that bad, and it also been reversed actually in some way or the other. So I think on the positive side, so it will be also reverse. Like there would have been communities if there was no incentive for people to remain a minority, they will not remain a minority. They will join the majority. correct, Nina? Matlab, in one aspect of it,
Yes.
if there are laws to actually like disincentivize and become the join the majority mainstream, but if you have laws and if you have incentives to remain a minority, they will remain as such.
Yes, in that way,
uh,
it's all about
Namaste
incentives.
didi. Namaste didi.
मेरी वॉइस आ रही है क्योंकि मेरे
बिल्कुल है,
माइक इशू है।
हाँ हाँ।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल ठीक है, वी कैन हियर यू, ऑडियंस ऑल ओके, या गो अहेड दीदी.
नहीं, मैं बस वही कमेंट कर रही थी जो मैंने नीचे बोला ना कि उस
हम्म.
टाइम पे अगर आप कम्युनिज्म का भी अराउंड द वर्ल्ड देखो कि कम्युनिज्म किस तरह से फैल रहा था और भारत में भी जो लोग हैं ऑब्वियसली जो कम्युनिस्ट हैं वो किस तरह से ये भारत को कम्युनिस्ट नेशन बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे। यूएसएसआर जो है वो भारत के अंदर जो है वो इन्फ्लुएंस करने की कोशिश कर रहा था। तो मैं थोड़ी-सी ये जो कुछ लोग कहते हैं ना कि पार्टीशन ना होती तो क्या होता? तो
हम्म.
मैं थोड़ी-सी जो है वो कंसर्न हूँ कि एटलीस्ट क्योंकि आप उस समय पे हिंदूज़ का भी माइंडसेट अगर आप देखें कि इवन हिंदूज़ भी जो है वो ओवर गांधीवादी थे। मतलब आपको पता ना कि ओवर गांधीवाद की तरफ वो जा रहे थे। तो आई डोंट थिंक कि इतना पॉजिटिव होता। और हिंदू लीडरशिप पे भी आई थिंक आर्य समाज बहुत ज्यादा वोकल थे घर वापसी को लेकर। अदर देन दैट आरएसएस भी उतनी ज्यादा कुछ खास काम नहीं कर रही थी। बल्कि मैं इसमें आपको एक और रेफरेंस देना चाहूंगी, मुझे याद आ गया कि जो सावरकर थे वो पार्टीशन के सपोर्ट में बहुत सारे लोग कहते थे, लेकिन सावरकर जी का जो आर्गुमेंट था वो ये था कि हमेशा से इस तरफ से अफगानिस्तान की तरफ से भारत में इस्लामिक इन्वेजन होता रहा, तो अगर पाकिस्तान बन जाएगा तो एक तरह से बफर स्टेट मिल जाएगी भारत के लिए। मतलब जो भी इन्वेजन होंगे तो वो सबसे पहले उनको पाकिस्तान के साथ टकराना पड़ेगा। समझ रहे हो? आई थिंक कि जो ये वाली थ्योरी है कि बफर स्टेट वाली, इस तरफ बांग्लादेश के बारे में मैं कमेंट नहीं कर रही हूँ क्योंकि उसके बारे में मुझे उतनी जानकारी नहीं है। बांग्लादेश में मे भी हम हैंडल कर लेते, लेकिन ये जो पाकिस्तान वाला एरिया है आई थिंक यहाँ पे एक बफर स्टेट होनी मेरे हिसाब से हिंदूज के लिए या इंडियन हिंदूज के लिए प्रोडक्टिव रही। ऑब्वियसली वहाँ पे लाहौर चला गया, कराची, सिंध में बहुत ज़्यादा हिंदूज थे जो कि नहीं आ पाए। लेकिन आई थिंक मैं इसको थोड़ा सा क्रिटिकली देखती हूँ कि हम अगर पार्टीशन को सोचते हैं कि पार्टीशन जो है वो अगर ना होता तो सब कुछ ठीक होता, ऐसा भी नहीं था।
बिल्कुल, हम इससे अग्री करते हैं। तो मेरा सिर्फ एक ही आर्गुमेंट था कि ये जो मोनोलिथ है, मतलब हम लोग एक्चुअली आज की जो सिचुएशन है उसके हिसाब से पास को अपने हिसाब से मोल्ड कर रहे हैं पर्सपेक्टिव को। तो मेरा ये कहना है कि कुछ और चीजें भी हो सकती थी, वो शायद ना भी होती, पर उसका भी एक जगह है उस आर्गुमेंट का। मेरा सिर्फ इतना इतना कहना था कि इट इज ऐसा सिंपल नहीं है कि अच्छा ये हो गया तो आज ये हो गया, तो उस समय जो ये था वो अच्छा ही हुआ था, उसके कुछ और भी इफेक्ट थे जो हो सकते थे। तो मेरा यही कहना था, मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि अच्छा ऐसा
ऑब्वियसली
होता ही।
ऑब्वियसली हम हमें नहीं पता ना कि अगर ना होता तो क्या होता। ऑब्वियसली हम नहीं
एग्जैक्टली.
कह सकते थे। ऑब्वियसली अगर रशिया आ जाता यहाँ पे अफगानिस्तान में जिस तरह से रशिया आ गया था, तो हो सकता है कि भारत में भी कम्युनिज्म आ जाता। ये भी हो सकता है, मैं उसको डिनाई नहीं कर रही हूँ कि क्या होता क्या नहीं होता। ऑब्वियसली हमें नहीं पता है, लेकिन जस्ट मैं थोड़े से इवन मैं मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को लेकर उतनी ज़्यादा वो नहीं हूँ, डाउटफुल नहीं हूँ। मे बी उनमें से बहुत सारे लोग घर वापसी कर लेते, लेकिन मेरा डाउट जो है वो इंडियन कम्युनिस्ट के प्रति कुछ ज़्यादा है। मुझे लगता है कि वो क्योंकि उसके बाद यूएसएसआर जिस तरह से ऊपर गया, तो मुझे सिर्फ इन इंडियन कम्युनिस्ट का थोड़ा सा डाउटफुल हूँ मैं। अदरवाइज मे बी घर वापसी हो जाती बहुत सारे लोगों की, मे बी हम हैंडल कर लेते, मे बी बहुत कुछ हो जाता, लेकिन थोड़े थोड़े इश्यूज रहते। लेकिन इंडियन कम्युनिस्ट का थोड़ा सा मैं डाउटफुल हूँ।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। तो हमारे साथ और भी जुड़े हैं मिस्टर एम शास्त्री. मिस्टर शास्त्री, वुड यू लाइक टू से समथिंग?
Not really.
Yeah, go ahead. I
I
think
mean, if you want me to say something, I would just say that any land east of Indus should be ours. West of Indus वो तो wild land ही था पहले से भी. And there are two choke points that India should hold, right? So one is Quetta, and the other one is Peshawar. Traditionally, we've always held both those choke points.
got it. Understood. So you are
वो
mentioning
एक
that, yeah, go ahead,
एक और
Didi. Go
पॉइंट,
ahead.
हाँ एक और पॉइंट मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि ये चीज मैंने बहुत जगह पे देखी है कि जो पठान थे, जो पश्तून एरिया था, वो एक्चुअली पाकिस्तान के सपोर्ट में नहीं थे, वो जिन्ना को पसंद नहीं करते थे। जो मैं सीताराम गोयल जी की जो आइडियोलॉजिकल बायोग्राफी पढ़ रही हूँ, उसमें भी पठान जो है वो पंजाबी मुस्लिम को जो है वो बोल रहा था जिन्ना के बारे में, उसने कहा कि वो एक सुअर की औलाद है। मतलब ऐसे भी एनेक्डोट आपको मिलते हैं। और पठान जो थे वो काफी प्रो इंडिया थे, प्रो कांग्रेस थे।
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। Mr. Shastri, do you want to finish your argument? Uh,
I mean, Didi is kind of right, right? Like I mean, Muslims को convince करना है तो कर सकते हैं, but कौमी तो completely brainwashed रहता है, right? Even 30 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, अपना commies are still dreaming about the re-emergence of Soviet Union. So I say intensely brainwashed लोग, because the thing is like Marxism जो है ना, it introduces a completely different alternate worldview. तो एक बार तो उस दृश्य से दृष्टिकोण से आप दुनिया को देखेंगे तो उससे बाहर निकलना बहुत मुश्किल है. So Didi is right. कॉमी से हम we should always be extra vigilant against commies. And the other thing is, हम Islamic terrorism के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, but the biggest threat to India and the biggest terrorist incident, a biggest group that has engaged in massive terrorism has actually been the Naxals.
एग्जैक्टली मैं वही कह रही हूँ कि, और मैंने ये नीचे कमेंट में भी लिखा है कि उसके बाद जैसे नक्सलाइट मूवमेंट शुरू हो गई, और उसमें वो ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि एक पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप जो है वो यूजफुल इडियट की तरह यूज होता है। अब ये यूजफुल इडियट जो है वो किस तरह से उनको यूज करते हैं, और वो इतने मैसिव नंबर में थे, उसका भी मतलब क्या होता क्या नहीं होता, ये थोड़ी सी चीजें जो है ना, इसके लिए मैं ज्यादा डाउटफुल हूँ। मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को फिर भी हैंडल किया जा सकता है उनकी अशराफ एलिट को कंट्रोल करके, कम्युनिस्ट को तो मतलब कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता।
I would like Mr. Shastri and Ms. Didi to actually take up this comment जो हमने बहुत बार सुना है. So what do you think ये कितना सही है?
बंगाल के बारे में मुझे नहीं पता, पर ऐसा है नहीं। मैं मालाबार की एग्जांपल दूंगी कि मालाबार के बारे में जितना मैंने पढ़ा है, टीपू सुल्तान के बारे में जितना मैंने पढ़ा है, ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई राइट्स नहीं होते थे भारत में। ये जो एक फसाद सा है कि मुस्लिम हिंदू जो है जो बहुत पीसफुली रहते थे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। मैं स्पेसिफिकली मलाबार का एग्जांपल दूंगी, बंगाल की हिस्ट्री मैंने नहीं पढ़ी है तो उसमें मैं कमेंट नहीं कर सकती हूँ, वो आप भी करिए क्योंकि आप बंगाली है। मलाबार में एक्चुअली बहुत सारे राइट्स हुए थे बिफोर 1920। ये जो खिलाफत मूवमेंट वाला इशू हुआ था ना, इससे पहले बहुत सारे राइट्स हो चुके थे वहां पे। मतलब मैं एक्चुअली लिस्ट बना रही हूँ उन सबकी, किसी दिन इस पे मैं स्ट्रीम भी करूंगी। लेकिन एक्चुअली वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा वायलेंस होती रहती थी। जब भी मतलब हिंदूज की कोई फेस्टिवल है तब भी रॉयट्स हो रहे हैं, या कुछ भी हो रहा है तो तब भी रॉयट्स हो रहे हैं। और आई डोंट थिंक कि बंगाल में भी ऐसा था कि कुछ के बहुत ही ज्यादा कुछ पीसफुल चीजें थी। ऐसा आई
हाँ
डोंट थिंक कि ऐसा था कुछ।
Yeah. Okay. So let me put my point of view because I belong to that landmass. So what happened was technically it is correct that it was relatively peaceful area, but the point which I would like to state to the subscriber is that we had 1946 violence which took place at the behest of the Ashrafs. But my question to the audience is that why would the majority Pasmandas would go and do riot? Was there a deep-seated resentment, a deep-seated hatred towards the other community, which was already existing within the Muslim community, which was utilized by the Ashrafs to create the riots? So your argument that okay, they were all peaceful, living with happily each other, doesn't hold ground, because this kind of hatred doesn't come up in one day. This was something which was bubbling at the level of society for maybe decades and hundreds of years. It was just utilized by the Ashrafs to create the riots. So that's my argument to that.
I don't think it was just Ashrafs doing stuff, right? I mean, देख लेते हैं. Just look at Anandamat in Bonkim was already talking about the Nawab's propensity for violence against the local communities there, right? उनके साथ दादागिरी तो बहुत कर रहे थे, भाईगिरी तो बहुत कर रहे थे. I mean, essentially, Muslim violence prior to independence was a form of mafiagiri. They were essentially trying to be as extractive as possible. So वो एक sense of superiority तो पहले से ही था, right? And on top of it, because that's the base layer, वो समझ में आना चाहिए कि ये already basics उन लोग set up करके रख था already society में. So, और उसके ऊपर उन लोग literature लिख के, पत्रकार में लिख के, I mean, you have to imagine that the entire hate that came out, resulted out of the partition, was actually a 40-year-long project. 1912 से चालू करके, propaganda करके, लोगों को बता के, हाँ, मुसलमानों के लिए एक अलग ही देश रहेगा, हिंदू नीच लोग है, right? I mean, that's almost 2 generations of just hate seething in. So एक बार तो 2 generation को brain wash कर दिया तो 3rd generation automatically वैसे पैदा हो जाता है, right? So वही हुआ actually partition के time पे. इसलिए इतना violence था because that generation over there was already brainwashed.
Mr. Shastri, so I would like to just give you incidents when there is the way actually British conquered Bengal. So there was a deep-seated kind of hatred towards the Nawabs, who were actually quite extractive and oppressive. Mr. Sajidullah was known to actually snatch away women from the villages. So this low level violence by the Ashrafs against the Hindus was a kind of 100-200-year-old going on. So at the societal level, that violence and hatred was already there for hundreds of years, not even decades. So it was not something which was institutionalized, not in literature as such, but at the societal level, it was already there. So the Nawabs were the kind of example of this.
No, what I'm trying to say is that certain section of society was always violent, right? बाकी सब spectator थे. But it took about between 1912 to 1947 or 1950 भी मान ले, ठीक है, round up करते थे. There was a concerted effort of making rest of society who was simply observing into willing participants. वो ब्रेन वॉशिंग के लिए तेरे को 2 जनरेशन तो कम से कम लगा.
I agree with you that it was a kind of a concerted effort.
एक और पॉइंट, हाँ, लियो से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी प्लीज जाके सर्च करो तीतू मीर मूवमेंट, क्योंकि अभी जब ये बात हो रही थी तभी मेरे दिमाग में आया. तीतू मीर के बारे में जाके पढ़ो कि उसने किस तरह से बरेलवी रिवाइवलिस्ट वहाबिज्म जो है वो बंगाल के अंदर 1930 के अराउंड जो है वो प्रोपोगेट करने की कोशिश की, और उसका सबसे ज़्यादा जो वायलेंस किया था टीटू मीर ने, वो जमींदार जो हिंदू थे उनके अगेंस्ट किया था। और एक और, अभी क्योंकि मैं बात कर रही हूँ तो मुझे याद आ रहा है, एक लाल इश्तिहार करके, इसके ऊपर मैंने बात भी की थी, धर्मा डिस्पैच ने इसके ऊपर आर्टिकल भी लिखा है, जाके पढ़िए। क्योंकि अगर ये आप कह रहे हो कि बंगाल के अंदर राइट्स नहीं होते थे, तो सॉरी, क्योंकि 2-3 इंसिडेंट्स तो मुझे ही याद आ रहे हैं। तीतू मीर वाला 1930 के अराउंड, उसके बाद लाल इश्तिहार हो गया, एक दो और इंसिडेंट्स मेरे दिमाग में आ रहे हैं, नोआ खली वाला। मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि जो डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हुआ वो सडनली हो गया, ऐसा तो नहीं था ना। 1930 में अगर तीतू मीर वायलेंस कर रहा है और 1940s में अगर डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हो रहा है, तो कितने 100 साल का डिफरेंस है। 100 साल में ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता कि बीच में कुछ भी वायलेंस नहीं हुआ है। तो आई थिंक मैंने बंगाल की हिस्ट्री तो नहीं पढ़ा, पर डेफिनेटली जिस दिन मैं पढ़ूंगी तो मैं ज्यादा क्लियरिटी से जो है वो जवाब दे पाऊंगी। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि बंगाल में बिल्कुल भी राइट्स नहीं हो रहे थे।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। नाउ विल गो, अगर और कुछ कहना है, और विल गो बैक टू रीडिंग
मुझे
एंड देन वी अगेन कम बैक।
मुझे
गो
याद
अहेड।
है कि 1905 और 1912 के बीच में भी एक ढाका के नवाब थे, उन उनके अंडर भी कुछ वायलेंस हुआ था वहाँ ईस्ट बंगाल में, जब बंगाल पार्टीशन था।
Yeah, anybody want to
कम्युनल
comment on
वायलेंस
this?
ही था।
Yeah, we have Rishi with us. Rishi, would you like to share your thoughts and comments?
Yeah, namaste to all and also to the audience. हाँ, तो मैं वही बोल रहा था कि दीदी ने जो कहा है वो ठीक है। आई मीन आफ्टर 1876 वो 76 मनंतर जो बांग्ला में बोलते हैं ना, मतलब द 1876 फेमाइन्स, आफ्टर दैट आई एम नॉट रिमेम्बरिंग द नेम, बरेलवी सेक्ट का जो लीडर था वो तो बंगाल में आया था. He did mass conversions in Bengal from those time onward, from that time onwards, and फराइजी मूवमेंट उसके बाद शुरू हुआ. फिर तितुमीर का बारासात मैसाकर हुआ. बारासात में उसने वो बैम्बू फोर्ट बनाया, सो कॉल्ड ब्रिटिश के खिलाफ रेबेलियन कर रहा था, बट it was actually he wanted to make an Islamic state once again. So he was all hyped up about that, and उसमें भी उसने पकड़ पकड़ के चुन चुन के हिंदुओं को ही मारा. सो देयर वाज लाइक heavy violence even before creation of Muslim League. That was my two cents, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes. So actually, it's very good argument which is given by Rishi. So this the culture of violence in Bengal, because most people actually do not. It's a eastern part of the region where people don't know, like the rest of North India, South India, and West India are not familiar with the culture of violence which existed and exists in Bengal, erstwhile Bengal, including East Bengal, including West Bengal, is not known to many. So people actually do not understand that culture of violence is a long-standing tradition, a bad tradition, which was there in Farisi movement and other things going on. So there is something important, so that people say, okay, the people in the eastern part of the border, East Pakistan, Bangladesh, and West Bengal, quite peaceful. It was not peaceful. It was not known, not reported, not discussed as such. The people don't know about it.
So I think that probably that this Brahmos, secularist Congress, and communists probably downplayed this narrative of communal violence in Bengal overall. And I think because in other states you had more communal figures and they were more open about it. Then they didn't even have communists, but in Bengal you had communists. They probably downplayed the communal aspects.
Yes, there is and there was a concerted effort by the academia in particular, which was dominated by the communists, to actually downplay it and actually spin this as a way of actually peasant movement, or a movement by the lower caste against the upper caste. So this violence was actually, they used that events actually put their own narrative on top of it, that it's a kind of a movement where the upper caste or elite
Right, right.
are being targeted, okay, and they are oppressing the lower caste, okay, or the labor people. So that was there. So they actually utilized it in a very effective way because they had hold of the
They make it
academia.
about class conflict, upper class versus
Exactly. Yeah,
the
a class,
proletariat.
a
I
class
mean,
struggle.
look at the Mopla rebellion, right? वो तो classic case of communist revisionism है, right? They made it into a class conflict. Mopla rebellion was nothing but a jihad, a khilafat, and they said no, 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 it's a rebellion against the British. They were rebelling against unfair land laws that favored Nambudris. uh, it's the same pattern, right? And Kashmir में भी वही बोल रहा था, बोले थे कश्मीरी पंडित dominated government jobs, इसलिए उसे उन्हें भगाया गया है, right? So I'm not surprised. And again, this kind of revisionism has always existed within India.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we'll go back to our reading for one or two pages, and then we'll get back to our discussion. So uh, do stay with us if you can, and we'll go ahead and read it. So Niner, over to you.
Yes. Which page were we on?
I think yeah, this is the page. We are on
188?
page 189.
1 second.
So because if I can see, it is
Right, right. We are on 189.
yeah,
I'll just open it on my side.
yeah. Go ahead.
So, Jinnah, who used to give him, that is Mandal, lot of importance before partition, now did not pay any heed to him. When Jinnah died in 1948, Mandal's position in the cabinet became even worse. He remained a minister only in name, a minister to whom no one paid attention, nor did he have any prestige. There was widespread conversion of Dalits. The repression showed that the government had tacit consent behind these. The Dalits there kept shouting in front of their own leader and the law minister of the country, on whose assurance they had come and trusted Jinnah and Pakistan, but their cries went unheard. They were now in a cleft stick. The short sighted political decision of Jogendranath Mandal had ruined their lives. Their entire generation was forced to lead a hellish life. Seeing all this, Jogendranath Mandal started repenting. He blamed himself for the unsuccessful experiment of Dalit Muslim unity. He tried his best to handle the situation and wrote many letters to the government of Pakistan in view of the impoverished condition of the Dalits. But the government did not pay any heed. On the contrary, because of him being a Hindu, questions were raised on his patriotism, and conditions became beyond his tolerance. On August 8, 1950, Jogendranath Mandal, um,
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm just opening the
190.
page. Yeah, sent his resignation letter to the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Liaquat Ali Khan, and came back to India. Millions of Dalits who were his followers remained there, who had willingly came to Pakistan. Yes, we can discuss on this then.
I think we should read the letter and then we can discuss this letter. So
Okay,
it's a very
the
interesting
main
letter.
points of the original resignation letter of Jogendranath Mandal. My dear Prime Minister, I am compelled to resign from your cabinet with a heavy heart and a feeling of despair for the failure of the mission to lift of the backward and downtrodden community of East Bengal. It is pertinent to explain in detail the factors that compelled me to take this decision at this historical junction of the Indian subcontinent. After this, Jogendranath Mandal mentions the reasons, which in short are as follows. 1. In February 1943, the leaders of the Muslim League approached me and assured to fulfill my political goal. Thereafter, I agreed to work with them in the Bengal Legislative Assembly. When the government of Fazlul Haq fell in March 1943, I, along with my 21 scheduled caste legislators, supported the formation of the Muslim League government in April 1943 under the leadership of Khaja Nazimuddin. The cooperation was extended on the condition that scheduled castes would be given participation in power and administration.
91.
Yeah, 91. Two, it seemed to me that the condition of Muslims and scheduled castes in Bengal was similar. Both were backward and illiterate. I was assured that the League, with my cooperation and advice, would take such steps which will benefit the majority population of Bengal. Together, we will set up a system of governments which will create an atmosphere of communal peace and harmony. 3. After the general elections were held in March 1946, Muslim League was formed under the leadership of H.S. Sohrawardy, in which I was the only scheduled caste member who had won as a representative of the Muslim League. On August 16, 1946, the Muslim League observed Direct Action Day in support of the creation of Pakistan, following which fierce riots started in Bengal. I was also subjected to deadly attacks by Muslims, and I gratefully accept I was protected by my Hindu neighbors from it. The Calcutta massacre was followed by the Noakhali riots in October 1946, where Hindus, including those belonging to the scheduled castes, were massacred. Hundreds of people were forcibly converted to Islam. Hindu women were robbed and abducted. The beastly attacks were made on non-Muslims. I toured the riot-affected areas, and my soul was disturbed to see the pathetic condition of the Hindus. In spite of all this, I continue to cooperate with the Muslim League, keeping the allegiance towards the party in mind. I appealed for peace through my magazine Jagran. It was only after the Calcutta massacre that a motion of no confidence was moved against the Muslim League government, which I did not allow to pass, with the support of four Anglo Indian members working in support of the Congress and four scheduled caste members, and the government was saved. 4. I joined the Provisional Government of United India on November 1, 1946. The Gopalganj subdivision of East Bengal, where the Nama Shudra were in majority, was preparing to take vengeance on the Muslims. Sohrawardi requested me to tackle the Nama Sudra so that they would come out with vengeance. I did so, and the Nama Sudras abandoned the idea of vengeance. Thus, a communal riot was averted. Note: Namashudra caste is a scheduled caste found in Bengal, also known as Namsej or Namasud. Jogendranath Mandal also came from this caste. Post-independence, many Namasudras migrated with Mandal to East Pakistan, but later they came back to India, fed up with the persecution by Muslims. Initially, those who came to India were given 5 acres of land and settled in some places of the country. But those who came later did not get that facility. They also spread to other states of India. For example, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, etc. They have been given scheduled caste um, status in
Okay.
Bengal, but not in other states. Whether they should be kept in the list of backward or scheduled caste is under consideration. One thing is certain is that their state of uncertainty was due to the Muslim League and Jogendranath Mandal, on whose assurance they had gone to Pakistan, present-day Bangladesh. Shall I continue?
Yeah, continue. I think this is. I think we can discuss all the points once this is over. So
Yeah,
we should end
all
the point.
together we can discuss.
Hmm.
5. When the British government announced the partition of India, On June 3, 1947, the whole nation, especially non-Muslim India, was shocked. For them, it was an unexpected decision. No one ever had an inkling about it. I confess with a solemn vow that I have always considered the demand for Pakistan as a form of political bargaining.
Niner, we lost you.
I felt, yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I confess with a solemn vow that I have always considered the demand for Pakistan by the Muslim League as a form of political bargaining. I felt that by raising the demand for Pakistan, more political authority would be obtained from the British government and the Congress. I made my point firmly clear to everyone that the creation of Pakistan is not a solution to the communal problem. On the contrary, it will increase communal hatred and bitterness. The impact of partition will remain in the minds for long. Then I said that Pakistan will be one of the most backward and underdeveloped countries of Southeast Asia. Note, it is evident from the words of Mandal that he did not intensely support the creation of Pakistan, nor was he sure about the formation of Pakistan. In his view, um, demand for Pakistan is only a means of consolidating position in political transactions. So did Jogendranath Mandal's political assessment turn out to be completely wrong? Maybe yes. Muslim League and Jinnah only used Mandal. His condition was like an irritated child of a house who, in displeasure, joined the enemy of his house, and when the enemy misuses him, starts destroying his house, he realizes his mistake. But by the time he realizes, it is too late. All avenues are then closed by then. In fact, due to one wrong decision, his political career became cursed. However, the kind of apprehensions expressed by Jogendranath Mandal about Pakistan turned out to be literally true. Even today, the anger of partition lingers in the hearts of Indians. Pakistan has to beg from across the world for its sustenance. Kashmir is the only issue which helps the government of Pakistan make its people forget about its worthlessness. Pakistan's achievement in 70 years is that it has become a global epicenter of Islamic terrorism. Perhaps Quaid-e-Azam would not have guessed Pakistan's steep downfall. The foundation of a country which was laid on the base of communal hatred and restlessness of some leaders to grab power had to have a future like this.
Okay,
On
I'll just.
6th,
Okay,
yes,
Niner, hold on to this specific point. Okay, where he
yeah,
mentions the foundation of a country which was laid on the basis of communal hatred and restlessness of some leaders to grab power had to have a future like this. So I would like to now open the forum for Didi, Rishi, and others to just ponder over this specific point, which it's the author's perspective. It is not my perspective; it's the author's perspective. That although uh, something is created out of hatred and out of mischievous power-grabbing attitude, we will have the things that we have today because it was as I say personally that Pakistan and Bangladesh is a fake country. And why I say because this was created as a kind of a reaction, knee-jerk reaction of the leaders, of the elites of that time, who created this fake country out of their own political ways of grabbing power. So this is not something which was kind of, let's say, a well thought out plan to have an ideology as such. If anybody in the panel wants to discuss this specific point. And one more point I would like to highlight is that when Mr. Mandal came back to India and he was disillusioned with the Muslim League, why did not the Congress government made sure or take that advantage and try to do something about the Dalits? Because the Dalits, with therein East Pakistan and also in West Pakistan, they were the like brunt the violence which was to taking place. So wasn't this the responsibility of the Congress government to actually take care of them when they were having facing persecution on the both sides of the border in East and West? Yeah, Rishi, Munshi, Didi, yeah,
हाँ, ओके, कोई नहीं बोल रहा तो मैं बोल देती हूँ।
कोई बात
आई थिंक कांग्रेस वाला पॉइंट तो क्लियर है कि कांग्रेस जो है वो कंफ्यूज्ड पार्टी थी। ऑब्वियसली कुछ लीडर्स को छोड़ के वहाँ पे काफी सारे हिंदू नेशनलिस्ट लोग भी थे कांग्रेस में, मैं उसको डिनाई नहीं करती हूँ, लेकिन आई थिंक ये जो हिंदू जो पाकिस्तान में और बांग्लादेश में थे उनको लेकर वो थोड़े से बैकफुट पे थे। और आई थिंक दूसरा जो लीडरशिप से जो है ना वो इन्फ्लुएंस होती है पूरी की पूरी आपकी पार्टी। तो जो नेहरू थे ना उनको भी एक काइंड ऑफ आई थिंक मेरा ये मानना है कि उनके अंदर भी ये काइंड ऑफ एटीट्यूड था कि मुझे अपनी जो मेरा जो मतलब मेरा जो कैरेक्टर मतलब मेरा जो परसेप्शन है एज अ लीडर वो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि मैं दूसरे नेशंस के अंदर जो है वो इंटरफेरेंस कर रहा हूँ। तो मे बी इसलिए नेहरू ने ऑब्वियसली नेहरू जी ही लीडर थे, तो नेहरू जी ने उस समय इस चीज को इग्नोर कर दिया। आई थिंक कि उनका नैरेटिव मतलब उनका जो परसेप्शन था ना पाकिस्तान को लेकर वो क्लियर नहीं हुआ था। उनको लग रहा था कि हमने देश दे दिया है तो अब ये वहां पे जो कर रहे हैं उनको करने दो। आई थिंक वो काफी कंफ्यूज थे।
Yeah, anybody else has anything to say? Okay, nobody's speaking, so I will speak. So, Didi, you are right in many ways. पर एक चीज, one thing which is actually which I disagree. जो पार्टीशन प्लान था, उस पार्टीशन प्लान में पॉपुलेशन एक्सचेंज हो रहा था, ओके, एंड एज पर द पार्टीशन प्लान इटसेल्फ जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी थी अर्स्ट वाइल अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया की, जहां पर कांग्रेस वाज द प्राइमरी फोर्स, ये उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी थी कि वो लिखा भी गया है। देयर इज अ बुक बाय मिस्टर राजा भौमिक, द फ्रीडम सर्कल ऑफ इंडिया। तो उस उन्होंने इसमें इस पर कहा भी है, इसका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है कि कांग्रेस और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की ये ऑफिशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी थी कि वो टेक केयर करेंगे एनीबडी हु इज रिसाइडिंग इन द अर्स्ट वाइल इंडिया विच इज अनडिवाइडेड। तो उसमें पाकिस्तान भी आता है, उसमें ईस्ट पाकिस्तान भी आता है। तो इवन मॉरल तो छोड़ दीजिए, ये लीगल आर्गूमेंट भी सही नहीं है, क्योंकि जब 1951 में जब आपका एक अकॉर्ड हुआ था, आई थिंक नेहरू लियाकत अकॉर्ड, उसमें ये कहा गया है कि भाई आई विल टेक केयर ऑफ दिस पीपल। जो हिंदू रह गए हैं, कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट ने ये कहा था कि जो हिंदू वहां रह गए हैं वो हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है ऑफिशियली, लीगली।
पर
तो
पर
मॉरल।
पर आपने पहले भी स्टार्टिंग में भी जब मैंने शुरू की थी ये स्ट्रीम देखनी तब यही बात हो रही थी कि जो नेहरू थे उन्होंने वोट बैंक की तरह बनाया एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी को, तो मे बी वो अपने वोट बैंक को ऑफेंड नहीं करना चाहते थे। मे बी जो सो कॉल्ड कांग्रेस के अंदर कुछ लीडर थे, और ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल मिलते हैं कि बहुत सारे मुस्लिम लीडर थे जिन्होंने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में वो कुछ चीजें ऐड करवाई मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लिए और बाद में वो पाकिस्तान चले गए। ऐसे एक्चुअली नाम तो नहीं मुझे पता है लेकिन मैं रेफरेंस दे सकती हूँ इसका। तो मे बी जो कांग्रेस के अंदर जो मुस्लिम लीडर थे वो इस चीज को डिनाई कर रहे थे कि अगर आप हिंदूज को लेके आएंगे तो भारत के जो मुस्लिम है वो ऑफेंड हो जाएंगे। और आई थिंक लेकिन अगर मैं इस मेरा मेरा पर्सनल मानना है कि नेहरू जो थे वो अपनी परसेप्शन को लेकर ज्यादा केयर करते थे। आई डोंट थिंक कि वो इन चीजों में मोरालिटी में या लीगैलिटी में उतना कोई उनका था कंसर्न। इवन इंदिरा गांधी को देख लीजिए, 93,000 जो है यहाँ पे थे, उसके बदले में बहुत कुछ हो सकता था लेकिन छोड़ दिए।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। मेरे ख्याल से ही वाज आल्सो, माने नेहरू वाज अ अस्ट्यूट पॉलिटिशियन, ठीक है। उनको लगा था कि हाँ भाई ये एक वोट बैंक है जो वोट करता है, तो इसका इस्तेमाल किया जाए और आई वांट टू विन विन इलेक्शन। पर आज का हमारा हम स्ट्रीम यहीं पर खत्म करेंगे, पर एक सवाल जो आप सबसे है कि जब हमारा स्ट्रगल शुरू हुआ था इंडिपेंडेंस का, तो हम देखते हैं कि फ्रॉम बंकिम चंद्र टू अ लॉट ऑफ रिवोल्यूशनरी, वो हिंदू थॉट या हिंदुत्व से इंस्पायर्ड थे। वंदे मातरम इज अ क्लासिक एग्जाम्पल। ओके, आनंद मठ जो नॉवल था, उस पर जो वंदे मातरम जो सॉन्ग है, तो ये यहाँ से हिंदुत्व से शुरू होकर ये कैसे ऐसा हो गया कि 1951 में वी हैड abandoned our Hindu brothers in Pakistan and Bangladesh, erstwhile East Pakistan and Bangladesh, और हमारी जो हिंदू लीडरशिप वो इतनी कमजोर थी कि दे कुड नॉट डू एनीथिंग, और दे डिड नॉट वांट टू डू एनीथिंग, और उनको लगा कि नहीं, ये हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है। व्हाट रियली हैपेंड इन योर पर्सपेक्टिव, पर्सनल ओपिनियन?
सॉरी आई कुड नॉट अटेंड बिफोर, तो मैं एक वो आर्टिकल पढ़ रहा था ऑन, आपने पूछा था ना कि कैन अ कंट्री बी बिल्ट ऑन हेट्रेड, तो उस विषय में मैं पढ़ रहा था। लेट इट बी, वो बाद में बोल लूंगा। इस विषय में मुझे इतना ही बोलना है कि आई थिंक आफ्टर द क्रिएशन ऑफ कांग्रेस, एक क्वेश्चन बार बार आता था ना फ्रॉम ब्रिटिशर्स दैट हिंदूज डू नॉट रिप्रेजेंट ऑल ऑफ द इंडियन नेशन, देयर आर अदर्स। मतलब वो तो अपने मतलब अपनी ब्रेन यूज कर रहे थे कि लेट्स नॉट माने प्रायोरिटाइज हिंदू कंसर्न्स बिकॉज हिंदूज वांट इंडिपेंडेंस, so they were always trying to say that no, you don't have Muslims with you, you don't have that community with you, and so on। फिर हम देखते हैं कि हिंदू लीडरशिप में भी दो दो फाड़ हो गए ना कि समवेयर इनटू लाइक नहीं मुस्लिम्स को इंक्लूड करो, समवेयर लाइक अरे वो इंक्लूड हो या ना हो, हमें तो अपना मतलब गोल लेना ही है ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस। तो उसमें ही मतलब फाइट्स लग गए ना, लाइक इवन इन मॉडरेट और एक्सट्रीमिस्ट में भी ये पोजीशंस हमें देखने को मिलता है। लाइक मॉडरेट्स वेर लाइक मच मोर लाइक ठीक है बदरुद्दीन तैयबजी को आने,
accommodating to the concerns of others.
Yes. They were like always placating that please Muslims join us, please don't be afraid, we are with you, you also represent the nation। Hindus were like अरे भाई वो आए तो आए, ना आए तो ना आए, हमें करने दो, हमें अपना फोकस उस पे रखना है। So this went on, and as we you pointed out Dada, that afterwards the more moderate one under Gandhi ji obviously rose above. They were the ones to like head the whole movement in Congress, like they became the core, and they were the ones who were always placating ki theek hai Maulana Azad ko bana do, see we have a Muslim as a Congress president, we are not only a Hindu party, see we are a national party, so on and so forth। इसके वजह से शायद हुआ होगा। maybe you can comment on it more।
we have also Abhay Agarwal। Okay, दीदी आप पहले बोलो, फिर अभय बोलेगा। ओके, गो अहेड दीदी।
मैं ऋषि से क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहती हूँ, क्या ये मतलब प्री पार्टीशन कम्युनिस्ट जो है उनकी तरफ से ये एक बहुत ज़्यादा अटैक हो रहा था, क्योंकि कम्युनिस्ट जो है वो सारे के सारे पाकिस्तान की क्रिएशन के लिए सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, क्या उनकी वजह से भी ये नैरेटिव जो है वो इतना ज़्यादा था कि कांग्रेस जो है वो जो मेन लीडर है वो डिफेंसिव हो गए थे, जिस तरह से आजकल बीजेपी के ऊपर अटैक किया जा रहा है? क्योंकि अगर आप जो वेंकट धुलीपाला की बुक पढ़ते हैं ना, क्रिएटिंग न्यू मदीना, तो वहां पे जो चीजों के लिए कांग्रेस को ब्लेम किया जा रहा था प्री पार्टीशन, वो सारी चीजें आज बीजेपी के ऊपर भी वही आरोप लग रहे हैं। तो ये तो एक चीज हो गई ना मुस्लिम्स की तरफ से, क्या कम्युनिस्ट भी वही सेम आर्गुमेंट पेश कर रहे थे, या कांग्रेस के ऊपर वही आर्गुमेंट लेके अटैक कर रहे थे जो कांग्रेस इतनी डिफेंसिव हो गई?
आई थिंक दीदी हाँ वो भी है, मतलब पहले तो ब्रिटिशर्स थे, फिर मुस्लिम्स कुछ हद तक थे, जैसे सैयद अहमद खान ने 1890 से ये चालू कर दिया था कि कांग्रेस इज अ हिंदू पार्टी हेडेड बाय हिंदू बंगाली एलिट्स एंड सो ऑन, ऐसे ऐसे वो बोलते रहते थे हमेशा। और बाद में आपने जो कहा वही है, एम एन रॉय के आने के बाद स्पेशली ये हुआ था। एम एन रॉय क्योंकि वो खुद एक एपोलॉजिया में मतलब लिख रहा था उनको लेके, तो उसके बाद वो कांग्रेस में रहते हुए सूडोनेम में वो अटैक करने लगा था ऑन द सेम लाइंस दैट नो यू डू नॉट हैव मुस्लिम्स विथ यू एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ। तो ये मतलब अटैक्स बढ़ते रहे और उन्हें पता भी था कि जो एट द हेल्म ऑफ लीडरशिप जो है वो भी मतलब एक्वेस कर जाते, सरेंडर कर देते कि हाँ 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 सही है, कम्युनिस्ट आर राइट, लेट मी सरेंडर मोर, लेट मी प्लेकेट मोर। सो वो भी और ज्यादा अटैक करते रहे और आपका जो कंक्लूजन है
क्या
वही सही
क्या
हो रहा है।
क्या उस समय कोई हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं थी? आरएसएस ने तो ऑब्वियसली बाद में ही पॉपुलैरिटी हुई है। क्या उस समय कोई एक हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी नहीं थी जो कंटिन्यूसली कांग्रेस को जो है वो हिंदू इश्यूज के लिए जो है वो अटैक करे, या कम्युनिस्टों के साथ जो कम्युनिस्ट जो है उनको अटैक करे? आई डोंट थिंक कि ऐसी कोई
हिंदू
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी।
हिंदू महासभा थी ना।
हिंदू महासभा तो सावरकर जी के बाद तो मतलब मुझे नहीं लगता कि हिंदू महासभा के बाद, सावरकर जी के बाद उसने कुछ कंटिन्यूटी थी, उस तरह की इंटेलेक्चुअल क्लास निकली, मुझे नहीं लगता। बाकी मैं गलत भी हो सकती हूँ।
नहीं, आप ठीक हो, मतलब वैसे पहले निनर ने अच्छा वो मतलब फैक्ट बोला है। वैसे देखने देखने में क्रोनोलॉजी एक आता है कि पहले वो थे जैसे द एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर्स इन कांग्रेस देमसेल्व्स वेर लाइक दैट, सो दे वर आंसरिंग बैक on this special issue, like मदन मोहन मालवीय कभी कभी बोल देते थे, कभी कभी औरबिंदो लिख देते थे, तो वो मतलब पहले था। फिर 1920s के बाद जब सब हट गए, मतलब जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर थे हु वर नेशनलिस्ट, जो नेशनलिस्ट थे हिंदू सिविलाइजेशन के प्रति मतलब प्रेम रखते थे, तो उन्होंने मतलब कांग्रेस छोड़ दी, पर वो अटैक करते रहे, जैसे लाला लाजपत राय कॉन्स्टेंटली इस विषय पे बोलते थे, विपिन चंद्र पाल कॉन्स्टेंटली इस विषय पे बोलते थे। फिर उनके बनने के बाद फिर सावरकर जी आए, तो उनके और हिंदू महासभा से ये अटैक्स आने शुरू हुए ऑन हिंदू इश्यूज टुवर्ड्स कांग्रेस। तो वैसे ही चलता रहा, ये क्रोनोलॉजी तो मुझे तो देखने को मिला है एटलीस्ट।
Okay,
एक और
Abhay.
चीज है। हाँ।
Yeah, Niner, you present and then Abhay will speak.
Okay, so I was going to add the fact that this accusation that Congress didn't represent all Indians or all Hindus even. This started in 1880s and 1890s when I think really in the early days itself. I think in one of the sessions of Congress, the Governor General had given a remark that not a single Muslim is present there, when actually Muslims were present. And even Lord Curzon, before the partition, he the way he discarded the opinions of Congress is that it did not represent Muslim interests. So yeah, so that thing is a very old thing picked up by British themselves and not just communists. It's a way of denying legitimacy to any party.
Abhay, go ahead.
हेलो, सुनाई दे रहा है?
Yes, yes, you're audible. Go ahead.
हाँ, सो दादा आपको नमस्कार, सभी को नमस्कार। अ, हाँ, आप लोग कुछ विषयों पर चर्चा कर रहे थे, तो ये जो आपने इस विषय पर बात की थी कि पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश झूठे देश है, मतलब निराधार है ये दोनों देश। तो हाँ, मतलब उनका आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस दिखता है कि पाकिस्तान बोलता है कि हम एक इस्लामिक देश है, पर इस्लामिक देश बहुत सारे हैं, लगभग 60 मान लीजिए। तो तुम कौन से अलग हो, मतलब तुम्हारा अपना क्या आधार है? और बांग्लादेश बांग्लादेश में भी वो उथल पुथल रही है अपनी पहचान के लिए। जैसे कि पहले बांग्लादेश इस्लामिक आधार पर बना था, वो पाकिस्तान था। हाँ, फिर बाद में वो बंगाली आंदोलन चला कि बंगाली भाषा के आधार पर हम देश बनाएंगे। पर बंगाली भाषा के आधार पर भी जब देश बनाया तो उसका पश्चिम बंगाल से अलग रहने का क्या औचित्य था? क्योंकि बंगाली आधार पर भी बना था, तब वो कह रहे थे कि नहीं, हिंदू बंगाली और मुस्लिम बंगाली साथ रहेंगे, इसीलिए हम पाकिस्तान से अलग है। तो फिर वो पश्चिम बंगाल से अलग क्यों थे? तो अब उसको उस पहचान को लेकर भी उनमें एक विरोधाभास हो गया। तो अब वापस वो इस्लामिक पहचान में जा रहे, और अभी जो 2024 में हम देख रहे हैं उसको लेकर वापस संघर्ष चल रहा है। अब भारत की आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस पर आए तो भारत के समाज को कहीं ना कहीं भीतर ही भीतर पता है कि ये हिंदू राष्ट्र है, यहाँ की संस्कृति सभ्यता हिंदू है। और बहुत सारे जो हिंदुत्व विचारक थे उनको ये बात पता थी, पर जो हमारे नेता थे कांग्रेस में या कोई भी, वो ये बात स्वीकारना नहीं चाह रहे थे, वो किसी भी कारण से हो, कि भारत एक हिंदू राष्ट्र है, भारत की सभ्यता हिंदू है। वो इस बात को स्वीकारना नहीं चाह रहे थे, और उन्होंने ऐसी व्यवस्था खड़ी की जो सदैव हिंदू पहचान को दबाता रहा, क्योंकि वो ये सिद्ध करना चाह रहे थे कि वो सेक्युलर है और वो हिंदू परिचय से दूर भाग रहे हैं भारत में। तो इसीलिए अब वो समाज में भी आने लग गया, जहां हिंदू समाज में सेक्युलरवाद आ गया कि नहीं, हम हिंदू, अपने आप को हिंदू कहने से बचेंगे, हम सेक्युलर। तो ये पूरे जो भारतीय उपमहाद्वीप में है, ये यहाँ पर ये समस्या चल रही। सब अपनी अपनी पहचान को लेकर के दिग्भ्रमित है, किसी को अपनी पहचान का कोई ठीक से ज्ञान नहीं है या ठीक से स्थापित नहीं है किसी की पहचान। और इसीलिए यहाँ पर इतनी अस्थिरता दिखती है आपको, सामाजिक और राजनीतिक भी।
बिल्कुल। एक बात जो मुझे कहनी है, दैट पॉइंट वाज रेज्ड बाय ऋषि, दैट the so-called extremists, I don't call them extremists, so they were nationalists. That's the correct word to use for the freedom fighters of Bengal and whole India. So they were actually nationalists fighting for the freedom, not extremists. So ये शब्द नहीं इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए. And second thing is that and that was actually highlighted by MS in the CSK also in the podcast, that suddenly though nationalists were withdrawn from the struggle of freedom, and they became saints. Or Rishi Aurobindo founded his ashram in Auroville, and see a lot of nationalists who were fighting with weapons and arms to actually free India from the British. They withdraw from the scene, and then we see Congress come in and do all the things. So that's a very strange happening which happened, and maybe that contributed to the softening of the stance of the Hindu society as a whole, because it did not had the kind of leadership it needed, which withdraw after 1930s onwards.
I have a couple of things to say about this. Like the Aurobindo era is actually very interesting because kya hai ki you need to look at the time period, right? That period when Aurobindo was active, um, it was probably the first generation after 1857. They were actually quite a beaten down community. तो उस समय का journals या letters सब पढ़ोगे तो you get a sense that लोग उस समय they were exhausted, right? Like ऐसा युद्ध करके हम हार गए, अभी हमें कुछ और तरीके से सोचना पड़ेगा. And I think somebody has to read through Aurobindo more closely, but I suspect he must have realized कि एक rejuvenation के बिना युद्ध करके आजादी नहीं मिलेगी. And the other thing is and the nationalism in India definitely occurred in waves. Aurobindo was the first wave, right? Aurobindo and Tilak were the first wave. Uh, Savarkar and Hindu Mahasabha were the second wave, and the third wave got died by the time of independence happened, which is also a very interesting period. क्या था कि independence के बाद there were two things that were happening, right? One was um, these India as a whole wanted to disprove the two nation theory. वो एक घमंड था पब्लिक के साथ, राइट? आज क्या है कि आज पब्लिक को पूछेगा कि डू यू केयर अबाउट द टू, डू यू केयर दैट वी नीड टू डिस्प्रूव द टू नेशन थ्योरी, लोग बोलेंगे why should we even care about those things, right? Why should we constrain ourselves because of Jinnah's theory? उस समय mentality वैसा नहीं था. They were more like नहीं, we have to disprove that Jinnah's two nation theory is an absolute failure. So there was a little bit of adamance to accommodate uh, like Muslim sentiments where they needed, where they need not have to, right? The second thing was, I think I'd say, leadership, right? सब मर गए यार, कौन बचा कौन था बाय द एंड ऑफ 1950? कोई नहीं बचा था. So, पटेल स्वर्ग मर गए थे. अपना
Tilak also not there. Tilak.
नहीं, तिलक तो कब का मर गया था. So I'm talking about the 1950
Okay,
time,
okay,
right?
yeah, okay.
So by the end of 1950s, पटेल तो मर गए, right? सावरकर was all pretty much jailed, right? वो उसको तो बंद ही कर दिया. संघ भी बैन हो गया था. फिर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी मर गए. फिर दीनदयाल भी मर गए. So by the time
Gandhi
60s,
himself died.
Gandhi also himself died. So all those charismatic conservative Hindu leaders, none of them existed. वो leadership ही नहीं था वो time पे. They were conservative Congress members. और उन लोग का क्या था कि they did not have influence that extended beyond their community. It's kind of like today's state leaders, right? ममता बनर्जी जितना भी कोशिश करे, she will still be confined to Bengal because उसका identity has been deeply tied to that. So that was the case with conservative Congress leaders. So national conservative leader तो कोई नहीं था, सब मर गए उस समय पे. So naturally क्या हुआ कि Congress occupied a space where they had conservative Hindus, and they were also competing with the communists. And और हम लोग और एक चीज क्या देख रहे हैं कि पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस टाइम पे we only look at India through the lens of the central government, but state government के through देखेंगे तो you get a completely different pictures, where central government पे Congress dominated everything. State governments पे they were losing a lot of places. Madhya Pradesh central provinces was actually um, very ruled by a conservative Hindu government, a non-Congress government on top of it. So ये सब भी देखना जरूरी है हमें.
Yeah, I think Shastri has given a very important point, which actually we missed in our arguments. Is that the Hindu conservative leadership, which was fighting for independence, they were eliminated, or some withdrew from the active struggle, and that created a vacuum which was filled by the Congress and the communists in tandem. So they were fighting. So both were actually against the Hindu identity as such, and they suppressed the Hindu identity and Hindu concerns, and that may have been the reason why the responsibility which was bestowed by the government to actually take care of Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh when they were persecuted, they did not had the power or did not want to do anything about it in that sense. So that makes sense in many ways.
I would not dismiss the notion that people were adamant to disprove the two nation theory. वो भी एक चीज है. I mean, that kind of mentality seeped through the entire society.
Yeah,
मेरा
Didi, you're
इस
saying something. Yeah, Didi, go ahead.
हाँ, अबे ने जो पहले बात बोली थी ना कि हिंदू आइडेंटिटी से कोई जुड़ा नहीं हुआ था। आई थिंक हम लोगों को ना सोसाइटी को, जब हम ह्यूमन बिहेवियर को समझते हैं ना, सोसाइटी एज अ होल देखते हैं, तो उसमें क्या होता है कि आपको ना बार बार लोगों को, पॉलिटिक्स को अगर आप देखेंगे तो वो यही है कि आप, जो बीजेपी जब कैंपेन करती है, क्या करती है वो बार बार लोगों को याद कराया जाता है। कम्युनिस्ट क्या करते हैं, आप अपने आसपास देखो, कम्युनिस्ट आपको वही चीज बार बार याद दिलाते हैं। तो जो आइडेंटिटी होती है ना लोगों की, सोसाइटी की, तो सोसाइटी को बार बार याद दिलाना पड़ता है। फेस्टिवल्स क्यों होते हैं हमारे आसपास, क्यों हम हर साल ये दिवाली मनाते हैं, क्योंकि वो आपकी आइडेंटिटी के साथ जुड़ा हुआ चीज है। तो ये जो हम कहते हैं ना कि भारत में लोगों को आइडेंटिटी तो थी लोगों की, लेकिन वो एक कलेक्टिव कॉन्शियसनेस जो होती है ना, उसको रिवाइव करना पड़ता है। थोड़े थोड़े टाइम में आपको याद दिलाना पड़ता है। तो अबे जो कह रहा था कि हमारे यहाँ पे ऑब्वियसली हमारा जो स्ट्रक्चर है स्टेट का वो प्रॉब्लमेटिक है, उसमें एग्री करती हूँ अभय की पॉइंट से। लेकिन आपको सोसाइटी को भी बार बार याद दिलाना पड़ता है। इसीलिए मैं कहती हूँ कि हम बहुत सारे लोगों को अब जो हमारे इंटेलेक्चुअल थे, जैसे अरविंदो हो गए, विवेकानंद जी हो गए, इन लोगों को दोबारा से पढ़ने की जरूरत है। क्योंकि तभी, जब तक हम उनको नहीं पढ़ेंगे ना, और हम हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ेंगे, तब तक हमें नहीं रियलाइज होगा कि वो आइडेंटिटी क्यों जरूरी है। क्योंकि आप इग्नोर मत कीजिए कि कितने टाइम तक 1947 के बाद सडनली हिंदूज को जो है वो सांस लेने का टाइम मिला था। क्योंकि पहले इस्लामिक इन्वेडर्स आ रहे थे, फिर ब्रिटिशर्स आए, वो कॉन्स्टेंटली जो है ना वो रिफ्ट में थे लोग। तो ये 1947 से लेकर 1980s तक अगर आप लगाओ, इवन 1975 तक अगर आप लगाओ, तो उसके बाद लोगों को सांस लेने का टाइम मिला। और दूसरी बात, बहुत ज़्यादा पॉवर्टी थी। तो जब रोटी कपड़ा और मकान की आपको ज़रूरत होती है ना लोगों को, तो लोग आइडेंटिटी के साथ नहीं अपने आप को जोड़ते। उनको मतलब होता है कि मुझे रोटी मिले खाने को। तो अब क्योंकि कैपिटलिज्म 1990 के बाद जो है वो लिबरलाइजेशन आई, उसके बाद लोगों के पास पैसा आया, तो उसके बाद जो ह्यूमन बीइंग है ना, फिर वो आइडेंटिटी की तरफ जाते हैं। तो आई थिंक उससे पहले 1990 से पहले तो लोगों को आइडेंटिटी की जरूरत ही नहीं थी। लोगों को तो खाने पीने की, रोटी कपड़ा मकान की जरूरत थी, तो उसके पीछे लगे हुए थे। इसीलिए तो सोशलिज्म इतना ज्यादा फेमस हुआ, फ्री बीज इतने ज्यादा फेमस हुए। अब अ, अभी दिल्ली का जो इलेक्शन हो रहा है उसमें लोग अब बोलने लग गए हैं ट्विटर पे, अब लोग फ्रीबीज को पुशबैक करने लग गए हैं। तो ये चीजें जो है, ये भी हमें दिमाग में रखनी चाहिए।
Yes, Abhay.
हाँ, तो ये जो कॉन्शियसनेस बार बार फैलानी पड़ती है, वो जो दीदी ने कहा, बात ये है कि उसी को तो इंसेंटिवाइज किया ना इंडियन स्टेट ने। मंदिर आपने छीन दिए। मैं ठीक है, वो सोसाइटी को अपना काम करना चाहिए, मैं सारा दोष स्टेट को भी नहीं देना चाहता हूं, पर क्योंकि ये यहाँ मैं केवल नेचर ऑफ द स्टेट की बात कर रहा था, इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि हिंदू कॉन्शियसनेस को ही तो इंसेंटिवाइज किया स्टेट। जैसे जेसाई दीपक ने भी अपने एक साक्षात्कार में बोला कि जैसे ही हिंदुओं पर कार्रवाई करने की बात आती है, तब जो भारतीय राज्य है उसका पौरुष जाग जाता है, और वो जब अपने पौरुष का उपयोग करते हैं तो बहुत दमनकारी होता है हिंदुओं के लिए। तो ये सारी समस्याएं अभी भी है, अभी भी भारतीय राज्य का स्वभाव नहीं बदला। वो एक और, मैं इस चर्चा में बहुत गहराई में नहीं जाना चाहता। दूसरा मेरा एक प्रश्न है कि जैसे कि स्वतंत्रता से पहले हमने देखा कि जो एक परंपरावादी जो हिंदू नेतृत्व था, वो धीरे धीरे मिट गया, और इस कारणवश कांग्रेस को कम्युनिस्टों ने और कहीं ना कहीं मुस्लिम लीग ने प्रभावित किया, और इसीलिए वो अधिक मुस्लिम या तुष्टीकरण की ओर चले गए, और ये सिद्ध करने में लग गए कि जो भी हो, हम हिंदू पाकिस्तान नहीं बनने देंगे भारत को। और उस चक्कर में इतना तुष्टीकरण किया उन्होंने अल्पसंख्यकों का, और ऐसे अल्पसंख्यकों का जो बहुत ही आक्रामक है अपने स्वभाव में, कि आज ऐसी स्थिति है कहीं ना कहीं भारतीय राजनीति की या भारतीय देश की। फिर भी चलिए वो विषय है, पर मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि क्या आज वही समस्या हम भारत में देख रहे हैं कि कोई हिंदू जो परंपरावादी नेतृत्व होना चाहिए वो परंपरावादी या संरक्षणवादी नेतृत्व नहीं है आज भी भारत में? क्योंकि भाजपा को भी आज के समय में आप कांग्रेस समझ सकते हैं, और ये कांग्रेस को मुस्लिम लीग जैसा कुछ समझ सकते हैं या कम्युनिस्ट जैसा कुछ समझ सकते हैं।
मैं सीधी से एक बात बोलूं, ये भाजपा को कांग्रेस जैसे देखना और कांग्रेस को मुस्लिम लीग जैसे दृश्य से देखना, ये तो क्या बोलते हैं, ये तकियागिरी है। हम खुद के समाज में हम तकियागिरी कर रहे हैं। जो भी
तकियागिरी मैं समझे ना,
अल तकिया ही टॉकिंग अबाउट, जो है ना कॉन्सेप्ट
हम खुद को उल्लू बना रहे हैं। देख, भाजपा है, वो एक राजनीतिक पार्टी है, उस पे प्रेशर लगाना जरूरी है, और हमें भी ये भी समझने,
और उसी प्रेशर के लिए क्या हमारे पास हिंदू कंजर्वेटिव लीडरशिप है या पहले जैसी ही स्थिति है? मैं बोल रहा हूँ इतिहास क्या वापस अपने आप को
प्रेशर होता
दोहरा
ना,
रहा है?
जो प्रेशर होगा वो
Okay.
सोसाइटी की तरफ से होता है।
हाँ,
ओके शास्त्री गो हेड या।
देख, लीडरशिप रहे या ना रहे, प्रेशर हमेशा लागू रहना चाहिए। आप है ना एक अवतार की दृष्टिकोण से आप एक लीडर के लिए आप रुके रहिए तो कभी नहीं आएगा। प्रेशर पहला आना चाहिए। प्रेशर के बिना, देख, कोई भी गवर्नमेंट हो, भाजपा हो, कांग्रेस हो, जब प्रेशर नहीं डालोगे तो कुछ नहीं होएगा।
हाँ, प्रेशर भी तो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड होना पड़ेगा ना। लीडरशिप इज इम्पोर्टेंट। सोसाइटी को प्रेशर डालना चाहिए, पर सोसाइटी के पास वैसे लीडर्स कहाँ हैं जो ढंग से अपने साइड को प्रस्तुत कर सके?
ये आलसीगिरी है। ये सोच, ये विचारधारा नालायकगिरी है और आलसीगिरी है। जब
आई थिंक ये सोशलिज्म है। सोशलिज्म का इतना सारा इम्पैक्ट हो चुका है हमारी सोसाइटी के ऊपर कि हम अपने आप को कहते हैं कि हम सोशलिज्म के अगेंस्ट हैं, लेकिन हमारे बहुत सारे ऐसे आर्गुमेंट होते हैं जो एक्चुअली सोशलिस्ट आर्गुमेंट होते हैं।
नहीं, मेहनत करने की ये नहीं है हमारे पास, औकात नहीं है किसी के पास। सब
मैं यही बोल रहा हूँ कि सोसाइटी को अपने लीडर्स क्रिएट करने पड़ेंगे।
वो करे या ना करे वो अलग बात है।
जो लीडरशिप है क्या वो हमारे पास?
नहीं, मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ कि जो है उन पे प्रेशर लगाना चालू करना चाहिए। देख, मैं कांग्रेस के एमएलए के साथ भी बैठा हूँ, एमपी के साथ भी बैठा हूँ, और भाजपा के साथ भी बैठा हूँ। मैं, जब तक प्रेशर नहीं लगाओगे तब तक कुछ नहीं होएगा। वो कोई भी होने दो, वो कोई भी लीडरशिप होने दो, प्रेशर लगाना जरूरी है। वो लीडर हो ना हो, वो सोसाइटी प्रेशर नहीं लगाओगे तो कुछ नहीं होएगा।
ये मैं इसके पक्ष में हूँ, पर सोसाइटी के भी तो कोई प्रतिनिधि चाहिए ना।
नहीं,
भीड़ जाकर प्रेशर बनाएगी क्या?
नहीं, प्रतिनिधि सब अपने आप आ जाएगा।
कोई तो प्रतिनिधि
होल्ड ऑन दीदी प्लीज गो हेड।
हाँ, मैं ये कह रही हूँ, ये लीडरशिप जो होती है ना अभय अग्रवाल, जो सोसाइटी होती है ना जो प्रेशर डालती है, वो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो वोकल प्रतिनिधि ही हो। मैं बोलना नहीं चाहती थी, लेकिन अब मुझे बोलना पड़ेगा। जब इलेक्शंस होते हैं ना, इलेक्शंस उससे पहले जो बिजनेस क्लास होती है, आपको क्या लगता है वो प्रेशर नहीं डालते हैं? आपको क्या लगता है कि जो बिजनेस क्लास हिंदूज हैं वो प्रेशर नहीं डालते हैं? आपको क्या लगता है कि मैं इवन दो कि मैं बीजेपी सपोर्टर हूँ, क्या मेरे कांग्रेस पार्टी के अंदर या आम आदमी पार्टी के अंदर या जो लोकल पार्टीज होती हैं उनके अंदर हमारे लोग नहीं होते हैं, या हमारी उनसे जान पहचान नहीं होती है? आपको क्या लगता है कि उनके ऊपर प्रेशर नहीं डलता है? डलता है भाई। जो प्रेशर होता है वो जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका एक वोकल प्रतिनिधि हो उसके द्वारा ही हो। वो आप इंडिविजुअली भी कर सकते हैं, आप अपने बिजनेस क्लास से हो तो भी कर सकते हैं, बहुत सारे तरीके होते हैं उसके। ठीक है,
वो मैं हाँ, बहुत सारे तरीके होते हैं और मुझे लगता है कि व्यक्तिगत स्तर पर करना बहुत बढ़िया बात है, पर मुझे ये भी लगता है कि सांगठनिक स्तर पर होने से वो अधिक प्रभावशाली होता है। मैं
आई
बस
थिंक
यही कह
बहुत सारे हैं, हम देखना नहीं चाहते। आपको क्या लगता है जयसाई दीपक का जो बोलते हैं या जो लिखते हैं उनका उसका प्रभाव नहीं पड़ रहा है? सोशल मीडिया पे बहुत सारे लोग हैं बीजेपी सपोर्टर होके बीजेपी के ऊपर प्रेशर डालते हैं, अजीत भारती हैं, बहुत सारे और लोग हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि बिल्कुल ही नहीं है, हमारी सोसाइटी में सारे भी भाजपा को जो है वो ब्लाइंडली सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। ऐसा नहीं है भाई, पंजाब में
मेरा
है, मैं
ब्र-
लोगों को जानती हूँ जो पंजाबी हिंदूज हैं वो बीजेपी के ऊपर प्रेशर डालते हैं, इवन दो पंजाब में बीजेपी की कोई ग्राउंड वो नहीं है।
मेरा वही प्रश्न था, आपने उत्तर दे दिया कि क्या हमारे पास कंजर्वेटिव हिंदू नेता है या नहीं आज के समय में, या पहले जैसी ही स्थिति है जैसे कांग्रेस की स्थिति। मेरा प्रश्न
नहीं,
ही वो है।
आई थिंक पहले से हम बेटर है, लेकिन हमें और बेटर करना पड़ेगा, और अगली जो जनरेशन है उसमें भी हमें बेसिकली और लीडरशिप जो है वो तैयार करनी पड़ेगी एज अ सोसाइटी।
हाँ,
और लीडर के
मैं
लिए रुकना।
सोसाइटी को इससे मुक्त नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इस
नहीं नहीं,
दायित्व से।
और एक
मैं
बात
पहले
है,
ही बोल देता
और एक बात है, लीडर के लिए रुकना उल्लूगिरी है। आप प्रेशर लगाओ, आप खुद स्वयं लीडर बनो, रुको मत किसके लिए।
हूँ। हाँ, मैं उसका विरोध नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि हमें अपने से भी चेष्टा करनी चाहिए, पर सबकी क्षमता नेता बनने की नहीं होती है। ये दुर्भाग्य है मानवता का, पर ठीक है,
कोई
हमें अपनी ओर से प्रयास
मेहनत
करना
के
चाहिए।
सबके पास क्षमता है, सबके पास क्षमता है, मेहनत करने के लिए कोई तैयार नहीं है।
ये बात भी सच है, मैं इसके
फॉर
विरोध
एग्जाम्पल
में।
ये चैनल है, दादा का चैनल है, मेरा चैनल है, हम पॉलिटिकली उतना प्रेशर नहीं डाल रहे हैं, मतलब पॉलिटिकली उतनी बातें नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन हम अपनी अगली जनरेशन, जो अगली हिंदू जनरेशन है, उसको हम हिस्ट्री के बारे में बता रहे हैं, हम उसको अवेयर कर रहे हैं कि हिस्ट्री किस तरह से अपने आप को रिपीट करती है, आपको पॉलिटिक्स में कितनी कैसे जो है वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए। जब हम पॉलिटिकली अवेयर नहीं थे तो हमारे साथ क्या क्या हुआ, इस तरह से भी अगली जनरेशन को आप तैयार कर रहे हैं। तो ये एक तरीका है कि आप आगे जो सुनने वाले लोग हैं, क्या पता उनमें से कोई लीडर खड़ा हो जाए। तो ये अलग अलग तरीके होते हैं, जरूरी नहीं होता है कि आपको डायरेक्टली जाके पॉलिटिक्स के ऊपर बोलकर ही आपको काम करना है। आप अगर अपनी सोसाइटी के अंदर उनको हिस्ट्री बता रहे हैं, उनको पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री भारत की बता रहे हैं, कम्युनिज्म के क्या परिणाम हो सकते हैं, सोशलिज्म का क्या, कैसे देश को बेड़ागर्क करता है, ये भी बता रहे हैं, तो ये भी आप एक लीडरशिप ही तैयार कर रहे हैं अपनी सोसाइटी में।
Okay, the final word goes to M. Shastri. So, M. Shastri, could you just tell us? We were talking about the building of institutions which the Hindus lack in effectiveness. So, कैसे how to build these institutions for our future generations and for current generations of Hindus who would actually be much more effective in changing the system of governance, which is we know is anti-Hindu right now. Go ahead. Uh, M. Shastri, you are there? I
Yeah, I'm
think,
here.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, how do you deal with the anti-Hindu leadership?
No,
Well,
okay, I'll rephrase the question. So, this is the last comment we will take. So, the floor is only for you. So, my question and request to you is correct. So, we are also discussed in our private chats that the building of institutions. So now, as of now, Hindus lack a kind of effective structure of institutions which actually represent and fight for Hindu causes, which we do not have right now. So how do we build those institutions, and how much time it takes to build those?
um, I think this is a slightly misleading perception that we have, right? We do have institutions. We have a lot of institutions. Um, The issue is we don't elevate them enough, right? So take Sringeri Mutt, for example, the Shankara Sringeri Mutt. Um, they fund a lot of academics. They fund a lot of so all of the works that we see, Sanskrit literature works that we see that's available online. Most of the transliteration, transcription, and translation have been done by that mutt. That mutt brings in a lot of people together, passionate people together, and makes them do a lot of work, right? Um, the entire uh, case behind what do you call that? Kashi Vishwanath.
Mm-hmm.
उसका सब history, उसका records, उसका significance in religion also comes from Sringeri Mutt. I'm pretty sure uh, I'm close to the Sringeri Mutt, so I know what they do. But I'm pretty sure other mattas do similar stuff. Uh, uh, like the Bhakti Marg organizations like Mata Amritanandamay, Satya Sai Baba, Shirdi, not Puttaparthi Satya Sai Baba. They do a lot of these things. The thing is, like, I think we need to recognize them. That's the first thing we need to do. Give them proper support. क्योंकि क्या है कि इन लोग जोर से, and more importantly, political support. Um, हम political support नहीं दे रहे लोगों को, right? So just a couple of weeks ago, uh, a Iyengar priest, like he's a very simple guy, has been litigating against HRC, Hindu.
Yeah, yeah. Agency is there. Okay.
Yeah, HRC. They
Hmm.
manage all the temples in
Hmm.
Tamil
Hmm. Hmm.
Nadu.
Hmm.
He was arrested. Where's the protest on the street? Like, I mean, it was just a bunch of people who were just litigating through contacts, getting higher courts to do some suo moto or anything. Like the poor guy is still jailed right now. वो क्रिसमस का 10 दिन का ब्रेक के लिए वो सब कोर्ट पीट बंद है, वो इसीलिए वो जेल में बैठा है, वो अभी वो लात मार रहा है वो जेल में बैठ के. So we don't need new institutions. We just need to recognize the ones we have and give them political support. And yes, so sometimes you need to build new institutions. Um, but it might be even wiser to actually capture current institutions. So it's not. I don't think it's necessary for us to just focus on one thing. Just like do all the things.
Thank you very much. So I'll ask you two more questions more. So if we compare the Muslim institutions and the Jewish institutions in particular, the way they work in cohesion and coherently to actually protect their citizens and their causes, why Hindus are unable to do that if they have those institutions right now?
Uh I'd say one thing is government of India is kind of uh, caught in a very difficult position, right? So government of India itself cannot overtly support Hindu institutions. It's a legacy of history. Then it has nothing to do with this government, right? This government inherited 60 years of BS. It has to peel 60 years of BS one at a time. वो incrementally हो सकता है, वो revolutionary नहीं, revolution के through नहीं हो सकता वो. That's the unfortunate reality, right? Um, and the other thing is again political, right? So political support build करना बहुत मुश्किल है. And the thing is, um, India is now finally rising, right? So अभी हमारे पास एक थोड़ा एक foundation है where we can fall back on, right? So एक basic foundation है on which we can fall back on. वो foundation के बिना it's very hard to get political support. So I think like if you asked me, say, 20 years ago, why aren't we getting, why is it so, 20 years ago, what's the state of Hindu society globally? I would have said we struggle to build organizations, right? And part of it is also because government of India is kind of incompetent. Today, I can't say the same thing, right? Government of India is more competent than it was 20 years ago. You can build organizations, but you need to grow them right now. We are just in a different stage, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does make sense to you, to
एक
me.
पॉइंट मैं बोलूँ,
Yeah, go ahead, Didi, go ahead.
ये ना मुझे समझ में नहीं आता, मुझे बहुत सारे लोग मेरे चैनल पे भी पूछते हैं कि इजराइल का जो सिस्टम है या इजराइल का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है वो भारत में क्यों नहीं है। मतलब आई डोंट थिंक कि ये ना एक बड़ा ही वियर्ड कंपैरिजन है। मतलब ज्यूज का नंबर देखो आप और भारत की पॉपुलेशन देखो, आप उनकी हिस्ट्री देखो और हमारी हिस्ट्री देखो, वो अब्राहमिक मतलब थिंकिंग है उनकी, हमारी हम पॉलिथिस्टिक है। मतलब ये वियर्ड सा एक जबरदस्ती इजराइल जैसी पॉलिसीज हमारी क्यों नहीं है, ये बहुत बार मेरे कमेंट सेक्शन में भी लोग पूछते हैं। मुझे
दीदी,
समझ में नहीं आता
या
कि ये
दीदी,
एप्पल
जस्ट
एंड
वन
ऑरेंजेस
क्वेश्चन।
नहीं हम
नहीं
कंपेयर
नहीं
कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, मैं बता रहा हूँ। मेरा जो क्वेश्चन था वो स्पेसिफिक था कि जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस बिल्ड किए गए हैं उस कम्युनिटी के जरिए से, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू द अब्राहमिक पाथ, के द पॉलिटिकल पावर, द सोशल कैपिटल, द फाइनेंशियल कैपिटल विच दे हैव बिल्ट, is that something can we learn from them on that aspect, the social political capital which they have, we don't have it, so can we learn from them and build something?
आई
Yeah, I
थिंक
mean,
आई थिंक वी आर लर्निंग। आई थिंक जो एनआरआई हैं, इवन अब जो बाहर जो हिंदू हैं वो भी अब रियलाइज कर रहे हैं और वो सीख रहे हैं। आई
yeah,
डोंट थिंक हमें इतना हार्ड होना चाहिए अपने लोगों पे।
yeah. There are two things here. One thing is that हम बना रहे, we are in a different stage, right? देख, बंगाली हिंदू जेनोसाइड अभी अभी बात चल रही है, अभी अभी वेस्टर्न कैपिटल्स में रिकग्निशन आ रहा है, right? And even politicians here are kind of commenting on the state of affairs in Bangladesh. ये 20 साल पहले नहीं हो सकता था, right? So ये हो रहा है, we are just in a different stage, and we need to recognize one thing कि Jews, they already had the political capital post 1945 because they were murdered in such huge numbers. Like, I mean, almost 4-5 million of them were completely wiped out in a span of couple of years, right? So
Just, I want to add just one thing there. And Jews were murdered in a Western country.
yeah, नहीं वही
That's
मैं
why
बोल
it
रहा हूँ ना,
came into Western consciousness.
नहीं इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ, इसीलिए यहाँ पर people are much more sensitive about anti-Semitism. बट किसी को बांग्लादेश में क्या हुआ कुछ मालूम नहीं था. People are utterly shocked about the Operation Searchlight, right? I mean, वो अवेयरनेस लेके आना तो बहुत मुश्किल की बात है, right? And वो अभी लेकर आ रहे हैं, and it is building some amount of social capital, it's building some amount of political capital, right? But this all came after Indians somehow established themselves. They started building wealth. They started engaging in broader society, right? So हम अलग ही phase में आते. It's not like, नहीं कर रहे. It's just that everything that's happening right now is the beginning. इसे manifest होने के लिए और 10-20 साल लगेगा, right? अभी नहीं दिखेगा कि सब incrementally चल रहा है. And the second thing is, I do want to state one thing. I think in the chat, Ninar spoke about Rangarajanji, the guy who got arrested for just starting battles with HRC. And this is the other problem, right? And this is a particular problem with just the Brahmin community as a whole. कि हम जब किसी का अरेस्ट हुआ है, हम ये देखते हैं कि वो कहाँ से चुकी किया है वो, नहीं नहीं, वो 10 साल पहले वो मुझे गाली दिया था, इसलिए ये इसका अरेस्ट होना ये सही बात है, राइट? ये जब विचारधारा जब कम होएगा ना, ये लोग ये नहीं देखते कि उसका अरेस्ट गलत है कि सही है कि गलत है। लोग ये देख रहे कि हाँ, वो उसका अरेस्ट होना अच्छी बात है, अच्छी बात है कि गलत
ये
बात
Yeah.
फर्स्ट
So
प्रिंसिपल्स की कमी है, फर्स्ट
राइट?
on the
प्रिंसिपल्स
left,
की
we see
अंडरस्टैंडिंग
that
की
they
कमी है।
defend Naxalites to any extent. And they don't even care about what they do.
एग्जैक्टली। सो ये कीड़ागिरी है ना, this has existed because half of the community always worked in the government sector, और उनको
Yeah, it's
हैंडआउट।
also purity spiraling.
हम्म।
It's also about purity spiraling among us,
हाँ,
right?
शुद्धिकरण basically. So somebody needs to tackle that more closely. I mean, it has to come from individual efforts, and this is what I mean. No leadership can fix this, and this has to come from within the society itself. um, I think it's dying to a certain degree, but I'm not that sure. At least मैं यहाँ से दिख तो नहीं रहा है तमिलनाडु में क्या चल रहा है करके।
चल तो रहा है,
तो
बहुत कुछ चल
मैं
रहा है,
बस
बहुत कुछ।
यही एक ओके दादा
Go ahead, go
प्लीज
ahead. अब you go ahead, go ahead. No problem.
मतलब यहाँ पर मुझे जो पता चला 100 बात की एक बात, जेएसडी ने भी कहा था हिंदूज नीड मोर नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स जो स्टेट के बियॉन्ड काम कर सके, क्योंकि
एग्जैक्टली।
हम लोग स्टेट पर निर्भर नहीं रह सकते। और मैं ये बात मैं ये बात मानता हूँ। मैं जब लीडरशिप के बारे में पूछ रहा था तो मैं बस कंपेयर करना चाह रहा था कि आज की स्थिति और उस समय की स्थिति में कोई समानता दिखती है।
Yeah, Didi, you're saying something.
नहीं, मैं अबे की जो पहली बात थी ना, जब वो कह रहा था कि हमारी आइडेंटिटी, मतलब हिंदूज जो है वो अपनी आइडेंटिटी को लेकर वो हो जाता है। आई थिंक जैसे मैंने बोला था कि बार बार याद दिलाना पड़ता है, इसी तरह से जिस तरह से ये अभी इशू की बात हो रही थी कि एक दूसरे की टांग खींच देते हैं कि इसने मुझे तब ये बोला था। हमारे डिफरेंसेस हो सकते हैं, मतलब मैं हर जरूरी नहीं है कि
हाँ,
नव्य पक्ष की हर बात
वो
से मैं एग्री करती, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम
वो
हिंदू
चिड़ा
सोसाइटी
बिद्दी
में,
है।
हाँ, जो हिंदू सोसाइटी में वो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि इसने मुझे ऐसा कहा, तो अब इसकी जब इसके ऊपर अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम आई है तो मैं इसके साथ खड़ा नहीं होऊंगा या होऊंगी। और ये
हाँ, सेल्फ
इवन,
सैबोटाजिंग एटीट्यूड है
हाँ, और ये
एक तरह से।
इवन इवन हिंदूज जो है वो डिफरेंट सेक्ट्स के जो गुरु होते हैं उनके लिए भी ऐसे करते हैं। मेरे डिफरेंसेस बहुत सारे पंथों से हैं या संप्रदाय से है या इवन धर्मगुरु जो कह रहे हैं उनके साथ है, लेकिन जब उनके ऊपर अटैक होगा या उनको लेफ्ट अटैक करेगा तो मैं हमेशा हर गुरु के साथ खड़ी होंगी, इवन दो मेरे उनके साथ डिफरेंसेस है। तो ये जो है ये सोसाइटली हमें ये टैकल करना होगा, ये हमें लोगों को समझाना होगा कि अगर
मुझे
आप एक
लगता है
साथ नहीं खड़े होंगे तो आप, जो वो कहते हैं ना, जो बचपन में हमें स्टोरी सुनाई जाती थी कि लकड़ियों को एक एक करके तोड़ना इजी होता है, जब आप लकड़ियां इकट्ठी कर दोगे तो वो तोड़नी मुश्किल हो जाती है। तो आई थिंक ये जो इवन जो दूसरी साइड से जो एक रिएक्शन आ रहा है वो इसीलिए आ रहा है क्योंकि अब बहुत सारे हिंदू बोलने लगे हैं, और वो रियलाइजेशन जो है ना, अभी आप हमेशा याद रखो, जो रियलाइजेशन आती है ना इन ह्यूमन बीइंग के अंदर या सोसाइटी के अंदर, जो रियलाइजेशन आती है वो रियलाइजेशन आने में टाइम लगता है, वो एकदम से नहीं आ जाती है। हमारी प्रॉब्लम क्या है, मतलब हमारी इन द सेंस कि अपने साइड के लोगों की प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि हमें लगता है कि मुझे रियलाइज हो गया है ये चीज है तो इसका मतलब है कि सारे हिंदुओं को हो गया, नहीं हुआ है। हर हिंदू जो है वो अपनी स्पेस से बढ़ रहा है, उसके अपना एक अपना मार्ग है, उसका एक अपना फेज है, वो उसका अपना पाथ है, तो वो अपने हिसाब से रियलाइज करेगा। तो वो जो रियलाइजेशन जो है ना, वो जब 30-40% लोग परसेंट जनता के अंदर आ गई ना, जो स्मार्ट जनता है, जो एलीट जनता है, जो पैसे वाले लोग हैं, उनके अंदर ये रियलाइजेशन आना बहुत जरूरी है।
हाँ,
Okay,
तो मेरा
anybody
यही
has?
है कि अभी,
Okay, go ahead, Abhay,
सॉरी,
go ahead.
मतलब मेरा यही मानना है कि अभी हिंदू जो आंदोलन है, जो हिंदू पहचान या हिंदुत्व के लिए जो आंदोलन चल रहा है, वो अभी उसमें बिखराव है। कुछ मूल सिद्धांतों पर जो सर्वसम्मति होनी चाहिए वो नहीं है। वो वो लाना बहुत आवश्यक है कि कुछ मूल सिद्धांतों पर एक सहमति बने वृहद हिंदू समाज में, कि इसके साथ हम किसी प्रकार का कोई समझौता नहीं करेंगे। इन कारणों से यदि किसी पर भी आक्रमण हुआ या किसी को जेल में बंद किया तो हम उसका विरोध करें। हम अपनी निजी जो भी विवाद है उसको एक किनारे रख करके जो सैद्धांतिक आधार है उस पर चले।
हाँ, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये जो अभी स्मिता प्रकाश और जेएसडी का जो पॉडकास्ट हुआ, मतलब ये मुझे ये बड़ा वियर्ड लगता है कि अभी भी हमारे यहाँ पे कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो ये सवाल पूछते हैं, और कितने, भाई और कितने, मतलब क्या, जिसका फैक्ट्स है हमारे पास, जिसके हमारे पास प्रूफ है, उतने।
मैं दो चीज पता था। आई थिंक स्मिता प्रकाश का वो सवाल सही था, क्योंकि लोग वैसे ही सोचते हैं, राइट। एंड एक इंटरव्यूअर का एक जॉब यही है कि जो जनता जो सोचती है, उनका जो विचारधारा है, उसके हिसाब से वो सवाल पूछने की उनका यही कार्य है। सो आई थिंक शी वाज राइट टू आस्क दैट क्वेश्चन।
हाँ,
और
मैं उनको नहीं कह
वो
रही हूँ,
सारा
मैं वही कह रही हूँ कि हिंदू सोसाइटी के अंदर ही ऐसे लोग हैं जो कि कहते हैं कि नहीं, हमें नहीं चाहिए। मैं वही कह रही हूँ कि वो एक तरह से हिंदू सोसाइटी को ही रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है वो
नहीं,
प्रश्न।
हाँ हाँ हाँ, वो एक है। और मूल विचारधारा की कमी नहीं है, विश्वास की कमी है।
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, मूल विचारधारा की कमी नहीं है, मूल विचारधारा पर सहमति की कमी,
सहमति भी नहीं है,
सहमति
विश्वास
बननी
की कमी
चाहिए।
है। विश्वास की कमी है।
सहमति भी नहीं है, विश्वास की कमी है, उससे आपका क्या अर्थ है? मैं नहीं समझ पाया, पर सहमति से मेरा
नहीं
मतलब था कि
नहीं
कॉन्सेंसस नहीं है।
नहीं, वो नहीं है अभी। एक दो चीज है, राइट। एक 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 लेटेंट डिमांड है, एक डॉर्मेंट डिमांड है, राइट। और एक एक्टिव डिमांड है। जो तमिलनाडु देख लेना, भाजपा, अन्नामलई और उसका जो फॉलोइंग है वो एक्टिव डिमांड है, राइट। उसके पीछे एक लेटेंट डिमांड है जो देखते हैं कि हाँ, आ, किस किस दिशा में माहौल चल रहा है, राइट। जब वो लेटेंट डिमांड एक्टिव डिमांड बन जाएगा ना, फिर वो लेटेंट डिमांड एक्टिव डिमांड कब बनता है? जब विश्वास है कि हाँ, अन्नामलई जीतने वाला है, कि वो तमिलनाडु लेजिस्लेचर में जाके वो अपना कार्य कर सकता है। कि वो जब हाँ, हमारा तकलीफ हो सरकार के साथ, वो अपने बाजू में आके अपना तकलीफ का वो पालन कर, आई मीन वो सोल्यूशन लेके आ सकते हैं, राइट। सो वो विश्वास बनाना बहुत वो विश्वास नहीं है अभी किसी के पास, राइट। सो देख ले, अभी आपको कुछ भी करना है, एक एक मंदिर को आपको वापस लेके आना है, तो फिर आज कोई भी कर सकता है, राइट। जाके कोई भी कर सकता है, मगर दूसरे दिन में वो जिंदा रहेगा क्या? नहीं, क्योंकि क्या है कि कोई प्रोटेक्शन देने के लिए तैयार नहीं है। जब तक वो प्रोटेक्शन का विश्वास नहीं आता है, तब कोई कुछ नहीं करेगा, राइट। सो विश्वास की बहुत कमी है हमारे इसमें सोसाइटी में। कि आई मीन इन द सेंस कि if I do something, I have somebody to protect my back. That's the most important thing.
Okay, so I think this was a very fruitful and engaging discussion we had. So I would, before I give my closing comments, so I will request people to actually go ahead. This is the book. Also, the book, the URL is there. From this book is published by Garuda Publication. So काफी अच्छा, interesting book है. It has a lot of information. There's a lot of analysis by the author himself. He has analyzed things. He has quoted letters. He has quoted documents to prove his argument. तो इस किताब को जरूर खरीदें. Buy the book. And the discussion summary, which if I can give, is that the ecosystem building takes time. It takes few generations to actually build the cultural capital, the financial capital, and the political capital to actually build these institutions over a long period of time. Second है first principles जो अभय ने कहा. I think we already have the first principles, but India, Bharat as a geographical identity, जहाँ पर there are multiple languages, multiple cultures, food habits, creating a consensus on the first principle is a Herculean task itself. Okay, I think a lot has been done, and it will happen over a time. But I'm going to play a devil's advocate here. I'll give my take. When we see the specifically Hindu middle class, which is now shouting from their heart and their lungs that we have voted a so-called Hindu nationalist party in power for 10 plus, and we have another 5 years, hopefully we'll have. And they want all the ills which were happening for hundreds, maybe 500 years, if I go back. They want all this to be fixed in next 1 year or 2 years, and not enough has been done about it. So I would say the strategy of BJP and others is that I will enable the masses, the Hindu majority, to actually be self-sufficient in their finances, and from there itself a new leadership will come out, because now they have the financial capital, they will build the political capital, and in generations they will also build the social capital to actually unseat the BJP and maybe transform the BJP into the party or the organizations they want it to be. So that's my take on it. It may be controversial, but I think the way it is happening. Yes, it can be accelerated, and it will accelerate over a time when this Hindu vote consolidation in terms of political and social capital is built over time. And you will see now we are saying BJP is now Congress and Congress is now Muslim League. You will see a transformation taking place in another 25-30 years, where BJP will cease to exist, or it will transform into something that we want it to be. So that would be the closing argument. So I'll thank everyone who had joined this conversation. So do join us again. It was really engaging to know, and we learned a lot with each other in terms of our perspective, in terms of our political thoughts, our perspectives. So till then, next week we will connect again. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for the audience on the chat for doing a fabulous job. Last thing, I wanted to answer a question to Mr. Arya. I don't know if he or she, Arya. I live in Tamil Nadu. Okay. So I'm not sure how much you have lived in Tamil Nadu, how much you have talked to local Tamil people who I speak to, all strata of people I speak to, and the perception that you have that DMK is doing a very good job. Come and talk to people in Chennai, outside Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, and you will know the ground reality. Just don't go by the media reports and you know everything about Tamil Nadu. So do your own research, come, visit us, spend some money, talk to people, and then form your opinion about Tamil Nadu, what's happening here. So thank you everyone. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.